The Formula One world drives on, but it's a desperately sad and sombre Monza. The pre-race parade is normally a jovial affair, not this morning. The drivers are all here, but their minds are elsewhere, in New York and in Washington. Next stop, the American Grand Prix. The word from Indianapolis is, we are open for business. Hello there. It's been a very difficult weekend, just about impossible to concentrate fully on the Italian Grand Prix, some affected more than others. Michael Schumacher has been a distant, troubled character, giving the impression of a man who doesn't want to be here, going through the motions. Ferrari running advertising-free cars, no logos on the uniforms either. The drivers doing their jobs, their blank expressions reveal their feelings. Tony Jardine, we're all different. My personal feeling is that we're all here a bit quickly.
My view is that we shouldn't have run at all on Friday on the European day of mourning, but then should have carried on. I thought it was put most eloquently by Jarno Trulli. He said every day we turn on the television, we hope it's going to be a little bit better, but if we stop Formula One, then they are winning, and he means the terrorists, obviously.
Now, Mark, at this race last year, there was a fatal accident at the second chicane. The Fire Marshal, Paolo Ghislimberti, was killed, and the drivers seem to be very keen for that not to happen again. They're adopting a very unusual stance for safety reasons.
Well, it looks like they're trying to get a situation where they don't do any overtaking, at least up to and beyond the second chicane. I find it hard to believe that you're going to get all 22 drivers to agree. I find it hard to believe you're going to get all team owners to agree on this. And after all, we are here to race. I know circumstances are a little bit different this weekend, but we are here to race.
Okay. Well, motor racing is also having to cope with the news that Alex Zanardi has been very badly hurt. Zanardi, likeable 34-year-old Italian, drove a season for Williams a couple of years ago, also driven for Jordan, Minardi and Lotus. He's had both legs amputated after an accident in the first European Champ Car race yesterday afternoon near Berlin. Mark, a big rival of yours and a close pal as well.
Yeah, a big rival, but you know, a friend, and tough for me to really, you know, speak about Alex because he was such a fierce competitor and we have a lot of respect for each other, but the fact that he's gone through this big accident and he's still alive is something that's with me. And my first thoughts this morning were that, you know, he is thankfully alive, but great driver, great person, and you know, only hope that his recovery is going to be as good as it can be, and that his child and his wife will, you know, thankful that he's still around.
You're saying at times like this, every driver looks very closely at what he does.
Every driver, whether you're current, old, new, everyone will assess their situation and assess what it's all about. And when things like this happen, especially guys who are close to you, puts a new perspective on life and whether your career is worth it.
Okay. Right then, let us turn our attention to the Italian Grand Prix, the last European race of the season. Mika Häkkinen told us a couple of days ago he's going to take an unpaid year off next year when Kimi Räikkönen, the rookie young Finn, will replace him in the McLaren.
It's the end of one era and the beginning of another. Mika Häkkinen has been with McLaren since 1993 when he signed up as a test driver and found himself promoted to a race seat mid-season. Since then, Häkkinen and McLaren have been virtually synonymous. They've shared much success, but the strain of 3 consecutive world title chases have worn him down and he wants to step off the treadmill.
I'm just gonna take it easy, spend time with my family, and slowly start organizing the future, which is next year, to found the right things to do, and to found a little bit other things, meanings for my life except from Formula One. But at the moment, I still love driving a racing car. That's my passion. So maybe after 4 months, 5 months, I suddenly realized it just doesn't enough driving a road car to A to B or something like that. You know, I need to come back to racing.
Häkkinen has a fine record, having emerged in the late 1990s as the successor to Ayrton Senna as team leader. His 7-year partnership with David Coulthard is the longest in Formula One history, but now it's come to an end.
Yeah, certainly for next year. Obviously, I don't think anyone quite knows whether he'll be coming back the following year, but yeah, he's lucky boy getting a break, you know, spend a year on the beach or something and come back refreshed.
Now the Scot has a fresh challenge in the form of 21-year-old Kimi Räikkönen.
For me, for sure, it's good good option to go, and I think it's the best option what I can get on this time, and I'm very happy for that. But of course, it's a bit sad. My countryman is well, I don't know. It's very difficult to say because I don't know the background of the whole situation. And I better not say anything.
I think he's been very impressive with his relative inexperience, but. You know, one thing I think is important to remember is that you know, he'll have done 17 Grand Prix by the end of the season, and I won my 21st Grand Prix for Williams and was in a position to win before then, so it's realistic that if we have a good car he could win any one of the first 4 Grand Prix next year and be in the same position as myself. The fact is, if you've got the pace, then in Formula 1, if you've got the machinery, you can get the job done, because that's what I did. So you know, I fully expect him to be, you know, in front of me on occasions and behind me hopefully most of the time.
Hakkinen has formed a strong bond with the young Finn and had a big hand in steering him towards McLaren.
My dream basically is to have the Kimi in the seat of McLaren. It's a fantastic team. It can give a lot for Kimi, definitely a lot. And certainly they will give Kimi a very fast car for next year. I'm gonna give the Kimi 110% support. He's my friend. So I'm not gonna leave him. He's gonna be in my heart definitely all the way, and I'm gonna help him.
He's still not driven on every Formula 1 track, and already he's signed a McLaren contract. The future sure looks bright for Kimi Räikkönen.
So Kimi Räikkönen, I mean, a year ago, hadn't even sat in a Formula 1 car, and now he moves it in with McLaren. Do you think he's that good?
I think it's remarkable, actually. I think he is that good. Yeah, he's only done a handful of races, let alone Formula 1 races. But he's in a McLaren already for next season. He's going to have a great car, as Mika says. But let's wait and see. Let's just wait and see what he can do. But I do think he will win some Grand Prix, and I think he is definitely the future at McLaren. And it's going to be different now. DC and Hakkinen have been together a long, long time, and the face of McLaren will change.
They paid a few quid, haven't they, to get him away from Sauber? $28 million, what's that, around about £18 million or something like that? I mean, he comes expensive, doesn't he?
Well, I think the management of Kimi are quite happy. The Robertson couple of Steve and David, father and son, they've got Button and they've got Kimi Räikkönen, so yeah, definitely a good year for them.
Yeah. Tony, all season you've been saying that Mika Hakkinen is going to go. Congratulations on that. But will he be back?
I would expect, after his accident yesterday and seeing what happened to Zanardi, that Mrs. Hakkinen would have had a strong word with him last night and said, you better think again about coming back. But the thing is that it's very difficult for him to get back once he's been out for a year, because he's saying he wants a seat back at McLaren. Well, how's he going to do that? Also, he asked to have that sabbatical considered at Monaco time, and it was turned down. Well, that's put McLaren onto the trail of, well, perhaps we do need a new driver, perhaps we will go for youth. So it's almost put him out in the cold. He could have been forced into this position.
It's very unusual, isn't it, to try and take a year out of the sport and come back. But if you look at what happened to Hakkinen, as Tony just mentioned there, in qualifying, it is this sort of instant that when he's lying on the beach next year wondering, he might think, I'm not sure I want any more of that.
Yeah, we saw it yesterday, the second Lesmo, and did he really have his eye on the ball? It's quite possible that, you know, he's not concentrating 100%. It ended up with the result of him going into the barrier. You know, a hefty knock. Seen him this morning, he looks okay, but I'm sure he's a bit sore.
Yeah, before that in qualifying, Ralf Schumacher with 80 Grand Prix under his belt, and he knows his way around there. He says, I want to be on the front row. He started off very well, but ended up disappointingly behind the big boys up front.
Yeah, Ralf Schumacher went to bed last night, 6 tenths behind Juan Pablo Montoya. The pressure is on the guy at the moment. He's trying definitely hard to get it all together, but a little bit of his shine's come off from his mid-season Grand Prix wins, and Montoya's getting the upper hand. Car looks great. It's going around the parabolic there, very settled, planted. They've got the machinery. It's on the front row. It's on pole position, so it can be done. But Montoya's putting the pressure on young Ralph at the moment.
Particularly wondering about the reliability of that Williams in the race, but Juan Pablo almost half a second quicker than those Ferraris.
Mark's man from the beginning of the year, exciting to watch, but it's interesting how he's now curbed some of this aggression from qualifying performances anyway, and really learned his art. He said, I must get the qualifying together. And this makes it his 3rd pole position, which is absolutely fabulous. But the reliability is the question mark. He's had 3 engine blow-ups, he's had hydraulics, he's had electrics problems. It's his turn. He really needs to convert this to win. So do BMW, so do Williams.
How about Michael Schumacher, Mark? We saw the pictures of him right at the start of the show. His mind is obviously elsewhere. I know he's gone quickest in warm-up this morning, but you can't do this job unless you're 100% concentrated, can you?
You've got to be 100%. Michael does look a little bit detached this weekend, but I think Luca Montezemolo put it in the best words. He's out there racing for his public, and he's doing his normal display. You know, we saw some great laps yesterday. He certainly weren't good enough to get in pole, which is very unusual. But he's here for Ferrari, he's here for the Tifosi, the Italian crowd, and he will do a professional job. But 100% focused, but he is a little bit detached with his emotions.
And unusually admitting to making 1 or 2 mistakes in qualifying, Michael Schumacher. So he's out-qualified for the first time this season by Rubens Barrichello, and the Brazilian, he loves racing around this place in that red Ferrari, doesn't he?
He loves the Italians. I mean, his grandfather was Italian, everything. But think back to the beginning of the year when he was having a spat with the team in Malaysia over an overtaking agreement with Michael Schumacher. Think back to Austria, where he had to move over. The team asked him to move over for Michael Schumacher. He wasn't happy about that. It could be payback time. Michael Schumacher said, I do owe him one. He said, I had the team all around me yesterday, I had the new tyres on and the car is working brilliant. Maybe he's on for a win today with that Ferrari reliability.
You never know. Well, Tony, 1 or 2 new names for you down the back end of the grid. Just take us through it.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya, he's got to try and convert this into a win after these 3 poles. And Barrichello, will he be sent out to just chase and push Montoya hard? There he is on the front row. Schumacher said he got one of his sectors wrong. Ralf Schumacher, not happy with the setup. He's gone back to the old aerodynamic setup. Truly the fastest of the Honda drivers, no problem at all. David Coulthard says car not suited to here. Häkkinen's had a new car built up around a new monocoque, and Heidfeld and Räikkönen survived 2 big crashes on Friday to get 8th and 9th. De La Rosa for the 6th time ahead of Irvine. Button 11th on the grid, but he really needs to ward off job threats and get points today if he can. Irvine, persistent brake problems over 2 days. Fisichella back there, he had to take the spare. Villeneuve, too slow, he said. The same case for Alesi and the same case for Panis. Just too slow, he said. And Bernaldi and Verstappen behind him, so the Brazilian out-qualifying the Dutchman again. Enger making history there, first Czech in a Grand Prix. He got it in there in 20th place. And Alonso and Alex Young, bit of a story, they failed in the same place, then they had to share the spare car. But Alex Young making history for Malaysia, the first Malaysian driver on the grid.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I can't complain about it. The car was very quick. The last run made a bit of a mistake. I think the outlet was really quick and just killed the tires before the start of the lap.
We saw the Williams going very well this weekend, so let's hope we can have a good pace, and then we see it's going to be with the strategy. I mean, the Williams are going very well, and we expect them to do very well. So we just see, we put everything together and work for it.
Everything went very well for me and for the team. I'm really happy and glad, because you know, we didn't expect such a good result. Big thanks to the team, because they worked very well all through the weekend, and we are looking forward for tomorrow, because we feel that we can do another good race. I just hope to finish it.
I do believe there is a slightly quicker time in the car if you had the confidence in what it was going to do, but it's a little difficult to actually know each corner exactly whether you're going to have a little understeer or a little oversteer, and that's, I think, where we're losing a bit of time. And I would say, looking at Juan Pablo's time, looking at the gap he has to Ralph, I think he's obviously just supremely confident with the package he has, and that gives you that last little bit of time around a track like Monza.
I think we've got the reliability, touch wood, so it should be good. And I think with our launch control working well like it did at Spa, we could have a top 6 finish. You never know.
You know, going from the front, you know, is a step further, but you know, races are very weird. You never know what's going to happen. Hopefully, you know, it works well tomorrow.
That first win around the corner?
I think it's getting closer, but we'll see. When it's time to come, it'll come.
Both Schumachers not talking after the qualifying session. And by the way, there'll be no champagne celebrations on the podium after the Italian Grand Prix. But both newcomers have made it. Thomas Enger from the Czech Republic, replacing Luciano Berti, who's coming on pretty well after that accident in Belgium, by the way, in the Prost. And Alex Young, the Malaysian. Both had dodgy moments, but both start the race. Louise Goodman reporting.
It was always going to be a tough day at the office for Formula One's new recruits, but Minardi's Alex Young could never have envisaged just quite how tough it would be. The session was less than a minute old when things started to go awry for the Malaysian.
Oh dear, is this bad luck? This is just about the worst thing this astonishingly calm and composed young Malaysian could have happened to him.
But believe it or not, things were about to get even worse, because moments later his teammate Fernando Alonso coasted to a halt with an identical problem.
I went out to do my outlap, and then the gearbox went straight as we were going out the pit lane, so I had to run back and jump in the spare car. I need to find Alonso's car. Had the same thing happen to him, so the team decided to send Alonso out first, and then they sent me out after Alonso.
Thomas Enger is behind the wheel of Luciano Berti's Prost this weekend, whilst the Brazilian continues to recover at home from his huge accident at Spa. Enger's qualifying session was running slightly more smoothly. Initially anyway, the Czech was lying in 16th place after his first flying lap when the normally reliable Ferrari engine in the back of the Prost started to play up.
A little bit disappointed today because two cars break down, my race car and my ITV car as well. My first qualifying, I improved from my first flying lap into the second one 8/10 with Heinz T car, so it was quite good.
Back at Minardi, it was all hands on deck, with both drivers playing musical chairs with the sole remaining car.
What made it so tricky was the fact that we hadn't had any running at all this morning, so we had no idea what the circuit conditions were like. The car's different gearbox on it, so what doesn't quite behave the same way. Just glad we got the time in the end, you know. Obviously, I knew we would be a bit on the limit of qualifying, so the objective was to qualify. But at the same time, I couldn't push maximum because I had to bring the car back for Fernando.
What a baptism of fire that was. I mean, if you can think of all the things that could go wrong in a session, it did happen. So, no, well done. I mean, you know, to come in, having had one day yesterday, then lose both practices this morning, then go into a qualifying session like that, what can I say? First Malaysian ever Formula One driver, congratulations.
Whilst Paul Stoddart was clearly delighted, Thomas Enger's performance drew a slightly more philosophical comment from team boss Alain Prost.
Thomas has had all the problems himself, considering he's a new driver, did not know very well the car and the team, and first time in a race weekend. He had everything bad, you know, and he could not perform well. At the end, he was, even when he took the T car, that's where he performed the best time, but he could be much better.
But the race is another matter, and Enger's strategy is quite simple.
I'm in a car that I enjoy to drive. I have a lot of fun with it, and I try to drive as fast as possible with it.
This fella's driven as fast as possible, not too badly this season. Welcome Justin Wilson, first Brit to win the F3000 Championship. And when you look at those two there, you look at Mrs. Enger and Young, you must have a bit of hope about getting into Formula One.
Yeah, that's always been my dream, to get into Formula One. So, yeah, this year's obviously helped that, and I've got a test next week with Jordan, so I'm looking forward to that.
Just sort of puff your chest out and tell us a bit what you've done this season, because you've had a remarkable time, haven't you?
Yeah, driving with Nordic Racing, we've had a fantastic year, and they've been great. The whole season has been perfect. We've got 10 out of 12 possible podiums, and we've scored more points than anyone else in the championship. So, that's not bad going in this kind of formula where we've all got the same cars, and it's where all the junior champions tend to meet up.
And girlfriend Esther enjoying it at Spa a couple of weeks ago when your title was confirmed, and you've been more successful than Juan Pablo Montoya in this, haven't you?
Yeah, it's not a bad record to beat, so obviously we're all very happy, and now my aim is to try and get into Formula One. That's what I've always aimed for right since I started racing karts at 8 years old.
We just caught a shot there on the edge of frame. Jonathan Palmer, well-known name in motor racing circles, who is helping you achieve your goal.
Yeah, he's been a big influence in my career. Obviously, when he started the Formula Palmer Audi Championship, I took that as I didn't have the money to do F3 in a competitive car. So, my career was looking a little bit dodgy. So I got the opportunity, drove in the Palmer Audi Championship and won that, which gave me the chance in Formula 3000, and the rest has just been fantastic.
Jackie Stewart thinks you're too tall. You've got this nickname that's a bit of a double edge, the Flying Giraffe, that you're too tall for Formula One. What would you say to that?
Well, yeah, I think I can drive the Formula 3000 and that's built to the same regulations as the Formula 1. I've had a seat fitting with Jordan, so you know, I just let the driving do the talking.
Squeeze those long legs in somewhere. You, Mark, I mean, how tough was it for you to get into Formula 1 and how did you get in?
It is very difficult. I mean, Justin's at the critical stage of his career now. Tremendous achievement by winning the F3000 Championship. But now he's going to have to start tramping around the F1 paddocks, which I've already seen you doing with Jonathan, and knocking on doors, and that's where it starts to get a little bit difficult. But his credentials are there. No problem about whether he fits in a race car or not, and that doesn't matter. He can do the job on the racetrack. And when he goes and tests for Jordan, if he puts a good couple of days in, it's going to stand him in good stead.
I mean, Justin, this is a great little commercial for you. I mean, you can just tell me what you feel your qualities would be, the qualities you'd bring to a Formula 1 outfit.
I think my best quality is my racing. I love racing, I always have done, and being able to overtake and just get in there with the action is what I love to do. And yeah, just having a good team and working with the engineers and trying to get the most out of the car is what it's all about. And these days everything's so technical. It's always good to have an understanding on what's going on.
Sure. And again, Kimi Räikkönen is another who, I mean, a year ago he might have even been in your sort of position, just scrabbling to get in, and now next season in Australia he starts at McLaren. Again, great encouragement there.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see young drivers getting in there and doing well, and it's good for myself, and it's also good to see Thomas having his first race. Unfortunate circumstances for Luciano, but you know, hopefully he'll be well and back in the car soon. But Thomas is hopefully going to get a better chance in the race.
Just finally, you were on the podium here. I think you finished second here yesterday in your race. Give us a little insight into the Monza circuit. How's it driving?
It's a fantastic circuit, as you can imagine. It's one of the quickest we go to, and you got these long straights and then the heavy braking for the chicanes, and it's so easy to just miss your braking by 1 or 2 feet, and you know, that is crucial. So you know, you could see quite a few you know, interesting manoeuvres, getting the slipstream down the straights and then hopefully getting alongside under braking.
Tempted to keep you there all afternoon, Justin, but Tony Jardine's banging on the door trying to get in. But we'll keep our eye on you, and thanks very much indeed for joining us. Well done on this season as well.
Thanks very much.
Terrific. Let's go down to Louise Goodman with the latest on who's going to do what at the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Lou.
There's been a lot of activity down here in the paddock, Jim, over the issue of how the start will be played out. Will the drivers overtake on the first 2 corners? This move was initiated basically on safety grounds, but not all of the drivers agree with it. Principal Jacques Villeneuve felt that he was here to race and he would race, and some of the teams also felt that was the situation. Mike, I understand that was your view.
Yeah, I mean, we're a professional racing team. I mean, if there's a safety issue, we have flags to deal with that. But we've come here to this circuit. We're a professional team. Of course, there's been tragic events of the last week, but we're a professional team here to do a professional job, and that's what we've informed our drivers.
And there is no remit within the FIA regulations for this situation, is there?
No, I mean, obviously there's flags if an incident's occurring. If the situation down at the corners is not safe, then we shouldn't be here. It's been deemed that it is, and so we'll race the cars.
And that is what's going to happen, Jim. The situation that has been resolved basically because there is no FIA remit and the drivers could not all agree that there would be no racing through the first 2 corners. It's been agreed that it will now be a normal race start.
Very well done indeed there, Louise, down there, the start of the Italian Grand Prix, just over half an hour away. As you'll undoubtedly notice, our ITV studio is deep in the Royal Monza forest, a little bit rural. They've staged every Italian Grand Prix bar one at Monza, and Murray Walker has seen the lot.
The Italian Grand Prix is the oldest of them all. It began in 1921, and here at Monza, the greatest names in motor racing have been victorious. Nuvolari, Caracciola and Rosamar before the war, and then Fangio, Moss, Clark, Prost, Senna, Schumacher. Now Monza may be old, but with its tradition and its Ferrari-mad race fans, it's the most vibrant racetrack of all, and it's seen some wonderful races.
In 1957, the racing green British van walls of Stirling Moss, Tony Brooks and Stuart Lewis Evans had a colossal scrap with the 250F Maseratis of 4 times world champion Juan Manuel Fangio and Frenchman Jean Bérard. Stirling drove brilliantly to pull away and humiliate the great Fangio by lapping him on his way to victory. It was the first ever Italian Grand Prix win for a British car, and Stirling's patriotism had paid off at last. But if 1957 was good, 1967 was fantastic. In his Lotus, Jim Clark lost a full lap with a puncture before amazingly recovering to take the lead, only to falter on the last lap and be passed by Jack Brabham's Brabham and John Surtees' Honda as they raced for the flag. It gets better all the time at Monza though, and 1971 was a vintage year, with a fabulous slipstreaming battle between Peter Gethin in his BRM, Ronnie Peterson's March, Francois Sever's Tyrrell and Mike Hailwood's Surtees. As they came out of the Parabolica for the last time, it was anybody's race, but Gethin just made it, with 0.2 of a second covering all 4 of them. The Tifosi were ecstatic in 1979, for although Frenchman René Arnoux led the opening laps in his turbocharged Renault, he retired to leave Jody Scheckter and Gilles Villeneuve up front in their Ferraris. Team orders ruled, and Scheckter won the race and the World Championship, with a Ferrari 1-2 and massed hysteria in Italy. There is the 1979 World Champion, Jody Scheckter. 9 years later, the Tifosi were euphoric again. Less than a month after the death of the great Enzo Ferrari, and with McLaren having won every race so far, Ayrton Senna was being caught by the Ferraris of Gerhard Berger and Michele Alboreto as he went to lap Jean-Louis Schlesser's Williams.
It's spin! Senna! Ayrton Senna spins! And into the lead goes Berger, into second place goes Alboreto. What a fantastic situation!
It was collision time again at Monza in 1995 as Schumacher in his Benetton and Damon Hill in his Williams slammed into each other for the 3rd time in their careers.
Oh, and Hill hits Schumacher and they both go off! They both go off! Amazing!
To the Tifosi's joy, popular Jean Alesi led for Ferrari, only to retire and let Johnny Herbert's Benetton into a lead which he held to the end. Well done, Johnny. His 2nd win and well deserved. Michael Schumacher's brought joy to Italy by winning 3 times at Monza for Ferrari, and he'd love to make it 4 for the Tifosi after his championship victory. But against Williams, McLaren and hopefully Benetton, it won't be easy.
Won't be easy. Quickest circuit of the lot. Tony, can be a dangerous place too.
Well, it's always a cauldron of sort of high emotion, you know, 100,000 people, incredible knowledge and passion about motorsport, but it's high drama as well. I remember in '78, when our Brabham car being involved with the big crash with Ronnie Peterson, we tried to get out the pit lane. Police looked after the pit lane. We all got hit with truncheons on the head and goodness knows what. And then in the early 90s, Mark and I remembered that Christian Fittipaldi crossed the line in the air, upside down, landed on his wheels and carried on miraculously. Nothing happened to him. That's the sort of thing that can happen at Monza.
Preserving the brakes, a prime aim for all the drivers going around here this afternoon.
Tough circuit on brakes. You know, you're doing 210 miles an hour coming down to 2nd gear chicanes at about 50. And I can remember back in '94 when I was at Tyrrell, they got the brake wear wrong on the carbon brakes, and I had a right front brake explode on me at the Ascari chicane. I've never seen a photographer so scared in my life. His eyes were out on sticks, I tell you. But
I've got a picture on the wall, have you?
Yeah, got my attention, I tell you.
OK, it is a home Grand Prix for Giancarlo Fisichella, the Roman, coming off his best result of the season, 3rd in Belgium. Also the last Monza appearance for that team, Benetton. Next season they race as Renault. Fisichella found a quiet spot on the old Monza circuit to chat with Louise.
Tell me, when you come somewhere like this, I mean, to me, this just reminds me of the 1960s and what to me is the heyday of Formula One. The history, does that mean something to you?
Oh yes, Monza, it's a real history for Formula One, for motor racing, and especially for an Italian driver like me. I did a lot of races here in Monza, and I won in Formula 3, so for me Monza, it's a special circuit.
Can you imagine racing on this banking? It's so steep, I can't believe how steep it is. Could you ever imagine racing on this?
I did 3 years ago the Rally di Monza, and one of the special race was
around here?
Around here.
What was it like?
It was strange.
Was it scary?
There was the steering wheel in that direction, and the body and the head like that. So it was a bit strange, but because you have a very good speed, it's normal.
Now speed, talking about speed, tell me about Spa, because your speed there was something else. That was a fab race for you, isn't it?
Honestly, I was very impressive during the race, especially after the second start. I was second behind Michael. I said there is something wrong. But after a few laps, Barrichello was behind me. And the car was good, the balance was good, the grip too. I was driving very well. And I think I did a very good job. And at the end, when I was third after the checking flag, I was very, very pleased. And I think it's been one of my best races in Formula One.
The upturn in fortunes is rather ill-timed for Giancarlo, who'll shortly part company with the team and boss Flavio Briatore.
Maybe because I'm not his driver, it's a bit difficult sometimes with the press. But normally with me, when we are in holiday, it's a nice guy.
How different do you feel inside as a person to the way that you were when you were last at Jordan?
It's nice to go back to the Jordan Grand Prix because in the 1997 was my first year in Formula One, and your first year is not easy. But with Eddie and even with the mechanics in Jordan was like to be at home. Now I am 28, I got more experience. I feel very strong, much stronger than the 1997. I was nearly winning some races, so I think I'm ready to win my first race in Formula One.
He'll be driving the modern Monza with Giancarlo in a few minutes' time. This circuit not that far away from Milan, one of the great fashion centres of the world. No use to any of us three, but right up Beverly Turner Street.
They've each got their own little thing that they like.
It's groovy, I guess.
He's got a nice body.
He's wearing velvet pants.
He's got a nice body.
Monza may be home to the Grand Prix this weekend, but there's an equally fierce battle being held right here in the paddock. The contenders wouldn't be seen in anything other than the latest designer chic, all topped off with the most expensive shades. The competitors do their training 40 miles down the road in glamorous Milan. This is the epicenter of global fashion, the bustling streets of Milan, where the beautiful people only take time out from looking at themselves to look at each other. It's also home to some of the world's most famous designers.
He's got a nice body.
He's wearing velvet pants.
The couture houses along this street promise a lifestyle of glamour and excess, but the fashion industry has had its own share of tragedy. In the last decade, two of the world's leading style icons lost their lives, Gianni Versace and right here in Milan, Maurizio Gucci. Leading the way today is arguably Italy's very own Dolce & Gabbana. They've placed F1 firmly on the fashion map with their motor racing inspired designs. Madonna and Victoria Beckham have helped to popularise this look, which pays tribute to the sexiest sport in the world. The women's collection was so successful that Dolce & Gabbana have launched this stylish menswear range that will please any wannabe racing driver. Wearing these clothes would guarantee pole position on the paddock catwalk. Don't expect to see the drivers in anything so stylish this weekend. It is strictly fire suits and helmets for them. As for me, the temptation has become too much and I'm off to do some serious shopping.
Beverly's credit cards wincing. When you rejoin us, we have the latest news of the new team in Formula One next year, and you'll drive Monza with Martin Brundle and Giancarlo Fisichella. the race in Monza. Now, animated discussions. Michael Schumacher, Jean Alesi poking his head in there, and David Coulthard. What's happened here is the drivers do not want to overtake on the first two chicanes. There was a fatal accident there last year. The Fire Marshal Paolo Ghislimberti was killed. They do not want to race for the first two chicanes, but their team bosses have said, you will all race. That is the scenario. Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard doing their best to sort things out. We've only had a couple of rain-affected races in the history of this Italian Grand Prix. No surprise, we have a lovely autumnal day. Temperature around about 20 degrees. Let's drive the quickest circuit of them all. They'll hit speeds of over 210 miles an hour. It is Martin Brundle on board the Benetton with Giancarlo Fisichella.
Fresh from his great podium last time out at the Belgian Grand Prix, how does Fisichella handle this Monza racetrack? Staying to the left, he'll take a quick glance at the pit board on the right. It's a long way away here, over 210 miles an hour. Look for the little white blocks on the left-hand side of the track. They're the brake marker points. That's what he's looking at. 160 metres before the corner, hits the brake pedal, but he's a bit late. Has to take to the escape road, but he's away. Heading towards Curva Grande then. The software automatically upshifting the gearbox at the optimum engine revs, minimising the turn on the steering wheel to allow the car to easily build speed. It's a bit dark as you head down into the second chicane. Look for that green patch on the left. That's what he's doing. Traction control, applying just the right amount of power then as he heads towards the first Lesmo. Turn in early is a bit of a gradient to help you. Second Lesmo ahead. Do not touch the curb on the right-hand side. It's good. Can lean on the grasscrete on the exit, now building well over 200 miles an hour again. Not so much to do for the driver here, but at the top of that slight incline is a washboard effect on the racetrack. The back end of the car will be light. You must touch the curb on the left. He's okay. Follow those white lines. You can run a little bit wide on the exit to minimise the angle of the corner. You need every ounce of speed you can get as you head down towards Parabolica. Now watch him flick down 3 gears with his left hand as he hits the brake pedal. Car's working beautifully, not fighting the wheel at all, is he? Now he's full throttle, the corner opens up nicely. Once again, you're into that long, long pit straight of the famous Monza racetrack.
Fisichella starting 14th. Michael Schumacher, very downbeat, coming here as a double Ferrari world champion. Barrichello starting ahead of him. He could still catch Coulthard. Looking at those standings, Ralf Schumacher's aim is to overhaul the Brazilian. Hakkinen has never won here, and Montoya is on pole. Meantime, in the constructors, well, that top 3 looks pretty much done and dusted. 4 teams still in the frame for that 4th place. Trulli Jordan starts 5th. There will be a new team on the grid when the 2002 season kicks off in Australia. They are Toyota. They've ruffled a few feathers, but they've got a strong British interest.
Toyota are on course to make their Formula One debut next season with a British driver in the lineup. Alan McNish has obviously impressed the Japanese manufacturers with his testing form because he's earned himself a race seat alongside Mika Salo.
We are working very well together. We like Alan very much, and from my point of view, he should be on the grid in Melbourne next year.
So is that a definite yes, he will be there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the driver lineup now sorted, all Toyota have to do is to make the car work. They've been testing at most of the current European tracks and were due to continue the programme all winter, ignoring the ban on running in November and December. This angered the other teams who felt Toyota should abide by the rules. So this week a compromise was reached, enabling them to continue testing until November the 15th, the day on which championship entries must be lodged with the FIA.
I consulted FIA last year in November, and I have a confirmation that they say as far as regulations are concerned, you can test the whole of next year. And based on this, of course, we have made our whole plan. So our production, everything we are doing is basically geared for this. And now it is 3 months before they say, well, you have to stop everything now. I don't think this is correct at all.
I sympathise, but it's a very tough sport, and you know, they're a very large, powerful company. They've had plenty of time to prepare, and I don't see why they should push for a position that is any different to the position the teams have adopted voluntarily, and with a view to trying to help the sport in general.
No favours for Toyota then from the opposition. As well as that, they've a struggle to be competitive.
it's really difficult and impossible to say where we're going to be. The one thing we do know is that this is the pinnacle of the sport. It's the hardest thing that you can try and get into as an engine developer, never mind an engine and chassis. You know, it is really difficult in that respect. But they know the difficulty of the task. They've got their heads down. They're focusing on it long term. And I think that initially, you know, we've just got to try and get in there and finish races. And if you finish races, you might luckily finish in the points sometime.
My expectations for the team is that we will be able to come in, we will be able to qualify, and we will be able to establish ourselves in Formula One as a respected team. I mean, as one of the 12 teams, and that we will be respected for our efforts.
Toyota have already excelled in rallying and sports cars. Formula One is the next mountain to climb.
And they're spending big to make it in Formula One as well. We will welcome Toyota in Australia next year. We're all wondering, how will the Italian Grand Prix start? Just to update you, the drivers do not want to overtake for safety reasons at the first 2 chicanes. The bosses have said, you are here to race. James Allen is our man down there on the grid, and he has the very latest news.
Well, Jim, as you come down here, you can see Michael Schumacher. Let's go through here. There he is. You can see the expression on his face. It's the same throughout the weekend. He's just going from driver to driver, telling them all his views. He thinks they should take it easy at the start of this race. My understanding is the team owners had some feelings on this, but you can see they don't want any kind of interference at all. And Schumacher just giving his views. Clearly not every driver has been in agreement with this decision, but there's no question a lot of people are uneasy that either everybody does the same thing one way or another, or they don't do it at all. Could be more dangerous if half of them are not racing and half of them are. This story, I have a feeling, is going to run for a little while longer.
We're not going to know till the start of the race, are we, James? Mark Blundell, what's your view on it all?
I'm actually amazed by the whole situation. I'm amazed that Michael's doing what he's doing. He obviously feels very strongly about it, but at the same point, you know, I'm still of the opinion we're here to race, and if he feels that strongly, there may be a point to make, well, don't participate in this event. But at the same time, it's going to be interesting.
Tony?
Well, there's a funnel effect at that first chicane, and it's very difficult, even more difficult in my belief now, that the way they've changed it, they have to turn back on themselves, and there is a problem with cars going across the chicane and T-boning other cars, which is what happened in the Formula 3000 race yesterday. So I can see what they're worried about. Mark's absolutely right. They've got a race, and James is right. Either all go for it together, you know, and have a uniform decision, or not, because some guys going slowly could cause a lot of problems at the start of this race.
It really is a confused situation down there. Some of the team owners, our team bosses, are saying you have to race. Just look at Michael Schumacher. He wants them to go slowly around those first 2 chicanes, bearing in mind what happened here last year. Whispering in the ear of Jean Todt, whatever you do, rejoin us at Monza in a couple of minutes' time.
Mike Gascoigne, just seen Giancarlo Fisichella's car rolled off the grid. What's the problem?
There's a leak from the fuel filler. We've just seen some debris swarf underneath one of the seals, so it's leaking. So obviously we've had to change the decal.
Who's the T-car set up for?
It's set up for Jensen, but we'll have it changed by the time we're ready to go.
Bad luck, but thanks for talking to us.
Ron Dennis, where do you stand on this will they, won't they conversation about drivers overtaking into the first and second chicane on the opening lap?
Well, I was, as a team, of course, if we have a logical view, if a circuit is unsafe, now's not really the time to be talking about it. Having said that, we'd have been supportive of anything that the drivers had unanimously agreed to. But if you can't get all the drivers to agree on anything, be it a alternative start process or maybe start behind the pace car, then I think it's better to keep everybody in the same mindset and just have a normal start, and hopefully they'll put a bit of caution into the first chicane, and if there is an incident, the time to sort it out, or to sort out this circuit, is before the next Grand Prix, not half an hour before the start of the race.
Obviously your drivers are the ones who are out there driving the cars, but how do you feel when they sort of flex their muscles and go for a bit of driver power, as they showed this morning?
Well, to be honest, you know, we have a open spirit in the team, and we don't have conflict. If the drivers had expressed a wish, I would have been supportive of it, as long as it wasn't to the detriment of the interests of the team. And as I said, if it, whatever they'd all agreed, if it had been unanimous, I'd have been comfortable with it and supportive of it.
Thank you, Ron. Best of luck this afternoon.
What a scenario. We don't know how the Italian Grand Prix will start. Most of the drivers don't want to overtake at the first two chicanes for safety reasons, remembering last year's fatal accident. Others disagree. Some team bosses have told them, you are here to race, get on with it. Let's join Martin Brundle and first of all Murray Walker.
And I am a very unhappy man. When the lights go out at the beginning of a Grand Prix, my traditional cry is go, go, go. But are they going to go, go, go today? This is no time, in my opinion, for discussions to be held on the grid about whether they're going to try, when the lights go out, to start properly or just go round behind each other. I cannot believe that there is unanimity amongst the drivers on the grid. For instance, and I don't say this cynically, Benetton have got a fantastic launch control system. We saw how well it worked in Spa. Jenson Button is in 11th place. Fisichella was going to be starting 14th on the grid, but his car's been removed and he'll be starting from the pit lane because he has a fuel leak. Heidfeld is also going to be starting from the pit lane. There is a lot of indecision and unhappiness on the grid. Montoya is in pole position. His friend and racing partner Alex Zanardi is lying tragically injured in hospital after the Lausitz ring yesterday. Michael Schumacher has been like a graven image the whole weekend and is very unhappy about racing here at all, as is his brother Ralf Schumacher, and they are on the second row of the grid. And I don't know what is going to happen. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen when the race is supposed to start. Now, Martin has been down on the grid. I've been up in the commentary box trying to assess things for some little time. Can you update us at all? I know you're out of breath running up those steps, Martin, and it is difficult, but have you got any intelligence on what on earth is likely to happen when the lights go out?
Are they going to race? Which is the only sensible decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got engrossed in a conversation with Bernie and Patrick Head and forgot I was on telly today, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's a strange feeling down there. I've seen it twice before. When it was raining heavily in Adelaide in '89, when the drivers were trying to sort of hold a committee meeting on the grid. And I've seen a similar thing in '94 in Monaco when after Senna's death, but it's silly of them, really. They've done a lot of testing around here. The track hasn't moved or changed, and they should have, if they've got a problem with the track, they should have brought it up somewhat earlier than the morning of the race. But my understanding is that they've all agreed to just go ahead and race, probably a bit more carefully than normal.
Yeah, when this cropped up originally this morning, there was one dissident voice, and totally predictably, I understand it was Jacques Villeneuve, because the French-Canadian is very much his own man, and his attitude, and I have to say I think it is the right attitude, is that we are here to race, not to go around in single file when the lights go out and the race is supposed to start. But one way or the other, we're going to get the answer very soon, because in less than a minute now, as you look at a couple of cars, well, one car there down there in the pit lane, it's the Sauber of Nick Heidfeld, who is a very, very sad man, incidentally, because he had hoped he was going to get the McLaren drive that his Sauber teammate Kimi Raikkonen has got. Heidfeld, I should think, probably felt that as the McLaren test driver for a couple of years, and having had a distinguished career with Sauber this year, he could expect to and possibly hope to get that drive, but it was not to be. So Heidfeld starting from the pit lane, and so also Giancarlo Fisichella. So watch when the cars come round. Try to have a look down at the 6th row of the grid, and you'll see Jenson Button's Benetton there, the light blue car. It's the last time that the Italian Benetton team are going to be racing in the Italian Grand Prix as an Italian team.
There is a star that lights the road. I take this ride. Just try. I wanna be the only one to make it to the light. I take it to the edge where I live 1,000 lives. Maybe I could be the one right into the setting sun tonight. Just try.
This is the formation lap which will precede this very significant start.
Problem with the first lap here is that it's a one-stop race. All those cars will be brim full of fuel. It's a long way down to the first chicane, so you build up a lot of speed, and as ever the brakes will be cold, the front tyres will be cold when they get there. So a lot of opportunity for the concertina effect, especially if you're on the right-hand side of the track. You can't see the braking points clearly, and especially if, understandably, on the first lap you're up close behind another car, you can't see around their rear wing. So you do tend to get, like a piano accordion effect. And last year, as we know well, that carried on down towards the second chicane, which is a similar situation. You're building up to well over 200 miles an hour again. Still, everything is not up to normal operating temperature. First thing on Friday morning, we saw on a cold track here, Verstappen, Raikkonen just crashing off the road because brakes weren't up to temperature, tyres weren't up to temperature. It is a crucial situation like that here because you're running such low downforce to achieve these high top speeds, such cars not being pressed down onto the track with the security that you get at other types of Grand Prix circuit around the world, with the exception, of course, of Hockenheim. So that is why it's difficult, but you know, there is only one decision. You race or you go home. You can't start a race under a safety car situation, otherwise you'll start applying that to all sorts of circumstances, Murray.
Here. Well, pole position, average speed here, average speed around this circuit. Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams BMW, 157.6 miles an hour. That doesn't mean that speed somewhere on the circuit, that means averaging that speed around the whole lap. And they are doing some 220 miles an hour at some points of this circuit. This is the parabolica that you are looking at now, turn 11 in this 11-turn circuit. What that smoke flare is doing over there, I can't imagine, and I hope somebody gets it out of the way before they come round on the first racing lap. As they exit the parabolica and form up on the grid, Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia, his third pole position in the last 4 races. He was there at Hockenheim in Germany, Belgium in Spa, and here at Monza in Italy. And there are the 2 cars that will be starting from the pit lane, Heidfeld Sauber and Jenson Button's Benetton, and they have removed the smoke flare. Good. So, to the right of your picture, Juan Pablo Montoya. This is a 53-lap race. On the left of your picture in front is Rubens Barrichello. And behind Montoya is Michael Schumacher, a man with 52 Grand Prix wins behind him, 4 World Championships behind him. How much does he want to race here today?
Safety car in the background was warming his tyres up. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. All calm then, a space in front of Pedro de la Rosa. You can see 4 cars down on the left-hand side. Of course, that is where the Sauber should be.
Do we have a race or not? 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's go. And sure enough, Jenson Button in the Benetton comes streaking through, maximising the launch control benefit. It's Juan Pablo Montoya leading, and the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher in 3rd position behind Rubens Barrichello, a spinner already. That will be Jarno Trulli up at the front of the grid, and it is.
I think you'll find Jenson Button got involved in that. He used his great start and ended up once again a row ahead of where he, at least a row ahead of where he started the race. And I think when we see a replay of that, you're going to see Button involved in it, but the front 4 then away cleanly.
Yeah, Montoya leading, and Ralf Schumacher was in 3rd position. His brother's challenging him on the inside in the Ferrari and takes the place. That is the answer. When the lights go out, the red mist comes down and they are racing. Pablo Montoya is leading, the 2 Ferraris behind him, and Ralf Schumacher is up there too in the Williams BMW. So 2 Ferraris, 2 Williams BMW sandwiching the Scarlet cars. Then it is David Coulthard in 5th position, and Pedro de la Rosa is up into 6th position. That is an excellent start. He's made up 4 places on the first lap, down into the Parabolica, and Jenson Button at the back of the field. Look, his front wing is missing. His dynamic start has availed him nothing, so a terrible race already for Benetton, with Fisichella starting from the pit lane. Jenson Button, who started 11th, is down in the pecking order. 1 lap completed, and it is Montoya in the lead.
Waved yellow flags, meaning the track could be blocked, and then Ralf Schumacher, using the escape road, did not gain or maintain a position, will not be penalised for that this time around. Yellow flags as they were still clearing away the debris. We'll wait to see a replay. Hopefully, I think you'll find Button tripped over Trulli on the way into the first corner, and that should be about 12 to 14 seconds, and he'll be on his way again.
As Montoya leads and Barrichello is in 2nd place, Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari in 3rd position ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Replay of start.
There we go. Now watch the blue car about 10 in the light blue car of Button. It's over the white line at the moment, coming down the right-hand side, making an enormous amount of space. Look, and braking very, very late is Jenson, but up the inside of Coulthard, and now straight into Trulli. Jenson leaving it too late on that occasion. A little bit too deep, Jenson.
And somebody else went up into the escape road as well, didn't spot who it was, but now we are on lap 2.
Hakkinen it was who went up the escape road, and Button and Coulthard then squeezing through De La Rosa, 2 at the front of that pack. Trulli has an engine at that moment, but then appeared to stall out a little bit later on. And we should talk also about the great move by Michael Schumacher alongside his brother on the way into the first of the Lesmo curve. So again, I'd like to see a replay of that if the Italian director fancies it, because it was a super move.
So it looks like the 7th retirement for Jarno Trulli, who has this gift of starting brilliantly, because he was in 5th place on the grid and then failing for one reason or another in the race. Not his fault today, because he was nerfed by Jenson Button. But Montoya still leads ahead of the 2 Ferraris. Look at the gap between Ralf Schumacher, who is in 4th place. David Coulthard is 3.5 seconds now in 5th position behind the Williams BMW of Ralf Schumacher. De La Rosa is ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine. De La Rosa in the points in the Jaguar in 6th place. Eddie Irvine in 7th position. The Arrows is doing well. Jos Verstappen has come up through the field. He is in 8th position. A tremendously fast starting man, the Dutchman, Jos Verstappen. He's made up a lot of places, and he's ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, who started 8th and is now 9th. Jorna Lacey has come up from 16th on the grid to 10th in the sole Jordan now, with Jarno Trulli definitely the first and so far the only retirement in the Italian Grand Prix. Lap 3, replay.
There's Michael then just committed himself to the inside line and left it up to Ralf. to take the decision. Will he turn in on him or will he give him the space? Sensibly gave him the space. The Ferraris are faster in this sector of the race. Interesting little aside, Button running into Trulli, providing Button's at Renault next year. They will be teammates, and they've had a few run-ins before, haven't they?
Yeah, and now Rubens Barrichello is getting the loud pedal down. Fastest lap so far in this 3-lap race completed so far out of 53. Rubens has just gone round in 1 minute 26.4, which is about half a second slower than the fastest lap last year, but it's very early days yet. Martin said just a few moments ago that the cars have got very heavy fuel loads, of course. It's a traditional one-stop race here, and I would expect them to be coming in probably not before lap 30. Lap 32 was when they started coming in out of 53 laps last year. We ride with Rubens Barrichello now as he comes up towards the Ascari curves. That's the left-hander at turn 8, then they sweep right defeatingly turn 9, which he's at now. Out of turn 10, the left-hander building up to 215 miles an hour down to the Parabolica.
This is Jacques Villeneuve's view of that run down to the first corner. Remember the man this morning who said, I'm racing whatever you lot are doing, but he wasn't racing there, was he? Off the throttle very, very early. Maybe they didn't spread the message to him that it was game on after all. And Jacques sort of just darting through the traffic, running over the debris, may or may not get away with that, and that's Hakkinen recovering from the escape road, and Hakkinen maintains 13th place in this race. So
and Montoya has accepted the challenge from Rubens Barrichello by going faster again. Fastest lap so far, 1:26.089 by Juan Pablo Montoya, who could have and probably should have won 2 Grand Prix already this year. This is the 15th race in a 17-race series. Montoya failed to do so. He was famously taken out in Brazil when he was in the lead by Jos Verstappen. Now, if the BMW engine can hold together, because it's under terrific stress, he had a problem in the Spa Grand Prix, and this is Jos Verstappen diving inside the Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa, but the Spaniard de la Rosa has retaken that place. He's still in 6th position, and look at the first 3. Covering the first 3, less than 1 second now on racing speed, and they're pulling away from Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. The gap is 5 seconds covering the first 4. Then there's a big gap before David Coulthard, another 4 seconds back, leads Pedro de la Rosa. Things are starting to get a little spread out.
De la Rosa going backwards indeed. Verstappen, I do believe, has passed him, and so now has Raikkonen. So problem then for the Jaguar. He's now the victim of a Jordan 2, and Button then retires from the Grand Prix. No immediate visible signs as to why.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya, that we're looking at now in the lead, is a very cool customer. The man from Colombia. He is leading the race now. He's used to leading races. He's the past car champion in America. He's won the Indy 500 in America, Formula 3000 champion, and that was the problem with Jenson Button's car. That is the Renault engine saying very early on in the race, I've had it, Jenson, you can go on, I've had enough, I'm pulling out. And that's exactly what has happened. Montoya, and then Rubens Barrichello, and then Michael Schumacher, Louise Goodman.
Yeah, with a rather upset and understandably looking Jarno Trulli. Jarno, very bad luck taken out and by your future teammate as well.
Yeah, unfortunately this is what they told me, because I had a very good start. I managed to keep my position, but unfortunately I was hit by a car, and then I found out that was Button which miscalculating the brake.
So you didn't see him coming? First thing you knew about it was the bump?
Oh yeah, I was already in the corner.
Yet again, a brilliant qualifying and come to nothing.
Let's try and explain it as Mika Hakkinen now gets ahead of Pedro de la Rosa, and we'll try and explain the situation there with Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button. Jenson Button knew that his opportunity with his magnificent launch control system on the Benetton was at the start. He took his advantage, he left his braking too late at the first chicane and slam bang into the back of Jarno Trulli. Lap 57 out of 53, top 10. Montoya leads Barrichello and Schumacher. Fourth is Ralf Schumacher. Fifth is David Coulthard. Sixth is Jos Verstappen. Seventh is Raikkonen. Eighth is Alesi. Ninth is the Jaguar of De La Rosa. And Bernoldi's Arrows is in 10th place as we go for a break. See the yellow flags waving there. David Coulthard from 5th position has gone out of the Italian Grand Prix, and so that means to say that up into 5th place goes Jos Verstappen. I only caught a glimpse of it, Martin. Were you any more in touch than I was?
Looked like engine failure to me from what I could see. It looks like a car that was parked rather than crashed. And look, rear wheels locked up, so big failure inside the engine then of the Mercedes-Benz of David Coulthard. So bad news for his fight for 2nd place in the World Championship.
But look at this, and look in particular at the yellow car in the background. It is Jean Alesi, and Jean Alesi started down at 16th on the grid, and he's now up into 8th position, closing up on Kimi Raikkonen's Sauber, and ahead of Kimi Raikkonen is Jos Verstappen in the Arrows, now in an incredible 5th position. The Dutchman well up into the points. Now up front it's still the same, and you're looking at the two Ferraris of Barrichello and Michael Schumacher chasing Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams BMW as Michael Schumacher starts to put the pressure on. He's just had the fastest first section of all so far during the race, and this terrific scrap going on for 5th, 6th, 7th, and you're looking at it now. Verstappen in the Arrows. Behind him is Raikkonen in the Ferrari engine Sauber, and he runs a bit wide as Jean Alesi, the veteran French Sicilian, the oldest man in the race, 199th Grand Prix. He loves this place. He's nearly won at Monza for Ferrari, and he's really got the bit between his teeth now. Oh, this is a battle to savour, and Michael Schumacher is now continuing to press. Lap 9, and you're looking at the leaders. It's still Juan Pablo Montoya, but Barrichello is getting a bit closer, and Michael Schumacher has now really got hold of things as we see. Look at this, David Coulthard out of the race. The Mercedes-Benz engine has let go in a big way, and David Coulthard from 5th position is out of the race. Now, that means to say this is incredible.
Lead change, Mary. Barrichello has passed Montoya. Ferraris then very much looking like the car to be in. Again, at this stage of the race, Montoya's car started to get loose in the last 4 or 5 laps, and Barrichello appears to be the man with the best car underneath him, certainly on this set of tyres. And here we see it was slow out of the second chicane, and easy then for Barrichello to get clear track position into the first Lesmo. Don't know exactly, maybe Montoya outbraked himself slightly. We have seen him locking a front on several occasions through the race so far.
Right, well now let's make a prediction. Rubens Barrichello is fighting for 2nd place in the Drivers' World Championship. He's in 3rd position at the moment, 9 points behind David Coulthard, who is out of the race. Michael Schumacher passed Rubens Barrichello in Austria when Barrichello moved over to let him through to gain 2 extra world points toward the World Championship. And Schumacher has always said, I will help Barrichello when it is appropriate for me to do so. It's certainly appropriate now because Barrichello is leading and Schumacher is in 3rd place. James Allen, what's the news?
There could be a clue, Murray, to what is happening with Montoya in the performance of his teammate Ralf Schumacher, who's been a second a lap off this leading trio for most of this last few laps. I have a feeling that the Michelin tyres have degraded faster than the Bridgestones. Ralf Schumacher also probably carrying a bit more fuel, as is Montoya. It looks like Michael is lining up a pass on Montoya now.
He certainly is as they come out of the second Lesmo. Montoya can see that scarlet Ferrari with the black nose cone big in his mirrors as they come up to the Ascari Benz. And Michael Schumacher will be trying to get a passing move as they come down to the Parabolica at well over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I agree completely with James. It's a tyre issue. He's losing overall grip and balance, and as hard as you try, you can't make the difference. And then sometimes the harder you try, the slower you go. So Montoya then on his back foot, and look, you can see the car moving around as he tries to get on the power in the middle of the Parabolica. Compare that with qualifying yesterday, where he was glued to the racetrack at all times with that succession of laps that would put him on pole. Now, a few laps into the race, we've just finished lap 10, and the rubber of those Michelin tyres not giving him the grip he needs.
And a perfect scenario for Rubens Barrichello, who started this race 9 points behind second place David Coulthard in the Drivers' Championship. David Coulthard out of the race. He's retired with a blown engine, and Rubens Barrichello leads the Italian Grand Prix with a potential 10 points within his grasp, but there's still a long way to go. And if he wins this race, he will be 1 point ahead of David Coulthard, with still 2 races still to go at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time, and then the Japanese Grand Prix. But now we look at the battle for second position between Montoya, with, we assume, his Michelin tyres going off. The Bridgestones on the Ferraris are holding extremely well. Barrichello leading. Michael Schumacher has a look as he comes into the Ascari bends. Ralf Schumacher in 4th position is now 11 seconds behind the leader, and he is still lapping faster than Jos Verstappen in an excellent 5th place as Michael Schumacher starts to have a look, but he's not nearly close enough to Montoya to get past yet. Kimi Raikkonen is in 6th position, with Jean Alesi tucked up underneath his wing, 7th in the race at the present moment, having started in 16th place. Pedro de la Rosa is 8th ahead of Villeneuve, and Benoldi, the Brazilian driver, in the second arrow. So both the arrows, and there is Benoldi, are in the top 10.
Yes, Hakkinen there you saw behind Benoldi. Does he get a look? No, he does not. So Benoldi maintaining his position. Stewards will be looking at that. He might just get away with it. He's certainly fighting that car. But Hakkinen then P11 at the moment. Eddie Irvine has dropped down to 18th. So we saw him with problems, and he's last but one at the moment. And there we see again Montoya locking that inside wheel, and that's clearly, I think, why it allowed Barrichello through. He got away with it that time by just literally straight lining the chicane. He's struggling in the Williams.
Yeah, watch this now. Did you get that point that Martin just made? Mika Hakkinen, P11, place 11. He started in P7, place 7. So he's lost 4 places, and he's not getting past Benoldi in the arrows.
Yeah, all of those were lost, though. Marianne Moore, when he ended up negotiating the escape road and the bollards there, he more or less came out last, if you remember. But here we see the unloaded inside tyre locked up, and it's amazing. You lose so much retardation, but get out of jail free card there for Montoya in the shape of a flat piece of tarmac to bounce across instead of a gravel trap.
But he's really, really, really under pressure, and he's under pressure from the 4 times world champion Michael Schumacher. And whatever Michael Schumacher felt before this race began, he is concentrating now. He wants to finish at the very worst in second place. He's not going to, I predict, attempt to catch and pass Rubens Barrichello.
Barrichello scampering off into the lead. He was 1.5 seconds faster as these two settle into their squabble. Michael is ducking around trying to distract Montoya, very successfully, it has to be said. Montoya already thinking about defending, and that's slowing them both down. So Barrichello's lead, 4.3 seconds.
Well, I remember when Michael Schumacher came back into racing in Malaysia after having broken his leg at Silverstone, how he did everything he could to help his teammate Eddie Irvine win the race, which was exactly what happened. And he will be doing that now, because Michael Schumacher has so far this season scored 104 World Championship points, with 3 races still to go, including this one. And that's as many points as he scored last year. He's on the way not only to having won more Grand Prix than anybody else, he's already done that, but to score more points than anyone else.
What's nice about this is I don't think Michael Schumacher will have to give him the race. Barrichello's got the better car, ignoring the fact that Schumacher's held up behind Montoya as Fisichella dives across the grass in the first chicane as well. Currently, as you can see, in 16th, having started from the pit lane. But Barrichello's got the better car, and of course this first stint could be 35 to 40 laps depending on what their fuel usage is, and that means I think that Michael won't be in a position to have to give him a race today.
Lap 14 out of 53, fastest lap so far. Rubens Barrichello, 1 minute 25.8, which is about 0.2 of a second outside the lap record on the revised circuit, which Mika Häkkinen created in the year 2000, as Michael Schumacher continues to harry the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya, and they are now nearly 6 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, the race leader. So the question is, are those Michelins now settling down? Are they going to be all right? Will they last until Montoya comes in to replace the tyres that he's got now with a new set later on in the race when he refuels? Will the Bridgestones do better? There's David Coulthard walking in. His race is run, and he faces the prospect of seeing Rubens Barrichello pass him for second place in the World Championship. That's only the 4th retirement that David Coulthard has had this year in what's been a wonderful season for him. Not as good as it could have been, but he's already won 2 races, and he's been up there on the podium. I think it's 7 or 8 times. So there you see, 39 laps to go in this 53-lap race. Nearly 7 seconds between the battle you're looking at now and Barrichello up the road. Now Barrichello won for Ferrari in the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim last year, having started from 18th on the grid in appalling weather conditions. He could be on his way to his 2nd victory, and what a place to win for Rubens Barrichello with his Italian background here at Monza in Italy, in front of the Tifosi, the Ferrari home ground.
There is the tense battle for second place between Montoya and Michael Schumacher, and we wait to see Ralph a long way, 11 seconds behind this fight. He just comes into view at Ascari as this pair head into the apex of the Parabolica, and then is a Lacey or Verstappen in 5th. We'll have to wait and see. Here we go, and that is why they've made positions, probably because the Jordan went across the gravel trap, and that's how he made the position. Lacey made the position across. He could do it unless he's yielded back, and he has not yielded that position back.
And I can't see Lacey yielding that position back. He's not that sort of a bloke. Now, it would be very tough from his point of view if, having made up that position, he is obliged to come in for a 10-second stop, because that's far more than 10 seconds penalty. There's all the time you lose coming in, there's all the time you lose getting up to racing speed again. But Jordan Lacey has really got the bit between his teeth. Here it is.
I'd like this is not a replay, this is the next lap. Wasn't Lacey already ahead of Raikkonen? That's Jung, isn't it? On the exit of second, Lesmo, I would guess. Luckily, he's kept the engine going and gets out of harm's way. Otherwise, I think that would have been a safety car situation. So here's the fight for second. Jung rejoins the racetrack. I think that Lacey was having a go at passing Verstappen. Went across the grass, didn't pass Verstappen. I think he had... I'm guessing he'd already cleared Raikkonen, and therefore, and now he's through. Lacey is through to 5th now.
Yeah, Jordan Lacey is absolutely driving out of his skin. He's driving a magnificent race. As I said, he's the most experienced driver there. He's come up from the Prost team. He feels he's home with Eddie Jordan's team, because he drove for Eddie Jordan in Formula 3000, won the European Championship, lived at Eddie Jordan's home in Oxford, and now he's repaying. And Louise, what's the news?
I'm stood here with Jenson Button. Jenson, great off the line, but tell us about the first corner.
Yeah, the car seemed to work well off the line. And then as I got to brake into the first corner, I got a bit of dust off the tyres. I don't know what it was, cement dust or something. It must have been from the Porsches or something, oil on the inside of the circuit. And I braked pretty much the same time with everyone else, and it just locked up and went straight on, skidded straight on. So sorry to the people that, you know, I caused a problem in their race, but I couldn't do anything about it because I braked as hard as I could or whatever, and it just slipped.
And ultimately, what was the problem? What put you out?
I don't know exactly, but I had lots of smoke at the back, something to do with the engine, I don't know what, but that was it.
Cheers, gents.
Now, here we are, lap 17. This is the situation. Rubens Barrichello leads the Italian Grand Prix by 8.5 seconds. From a battle between Juan Pablo Montoya, there it is, with Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari underneath his rear wing. 4th is Ralf Schumacher, some 12 seconds behind the battle you're looking at now. fifth and magnificent fifth is Jean Alesi in the Jordan Honda. He's got ahead of Raikkonen, he's got ahead of Verstappen, and now Verstappen has dropped back behind Raikkonen, who is sixth. Verstappen in the Arrows is in seventh place ahead of the Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa. Villeneuve is ninth, and Mika Hakkinen, who started in seventh position, is down in 10th place at the present moment. And I tell a lie, because Mika Hakkinen is now dropping back all the time. So there is the situation. There are retirements, of course. Jarno Trulli is out after having been collected at the start by Jenson Button, who has also retired. David Coulthard's had an engine blow, and Eddie Irvine is out of the race in the Jaguar. 18 cars left out of the 22 who started. Alex Young, the Malaysian, is last but driving well.
Yes, and while Jenson Button was talking, of course, we saw Raikkonen get ahead of Jos Verstappen. That's how come he's up into sixth place.
As the Italian Grand Prix settles down a little and we look at Enrico Bernoldi battling for 11th position with Olivier Panis, there is the Frenchman, and they're followed by Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Prost. The likelihood is that Ferraris are going to finish as Michael Schumacher forces Montoya even more so. The Ferraris are well up at the front, and into the pits comes the first car to stop amongst the leaders and draws to a standstill. Michael Schumacher from third place. He's probably decided that he wasn't going to get past Montoya, so the best thing to do is come in and change the boots, change the wheels and tyres on his Ferrari, refuel, and then put in a terrific lap in the hope that Montoya will make a slower will make a slower pit stop than him, and that Michael Schumacher will be able to rejoin the race in second position after Montoya gets back into it. So the lead now, Rubens Barrichello, still 10 seconds now ahead of Montoya. Michael Schumacher has made his pit stop. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW goes through, and we look down the pit lane, and now we see Montoya. Now the next person through, obviously behind the Williams BMW, as the Colombian comes down to the Ascari curves, will come into our sight in just a moment as Montoya accelerates out, the back of his Williams stepping out slightly, and he's closing up now on Fernando Alonso in the Minardi, who is in 17th place to lap the Spaniard as in comes the Ferrari. And it is Rubens Barrichello, race leader.
Amazingly, both Ferraris have pitted. It's complete change of strategy, but Barrichello had a poor pit stop. The fuel nozzle did not go in for a long time, and here is the first of those stops. Michael Schumacher coming in, we think, changing the strategy, probably to try to get him ahead of Montoya. It was a good, clean stop for Michael, and that'll be his... Well, he made two stops this afternoon. We'll see how much they've changed their strategy. This will make Williams very happy. I have to say, now it's Barrichello coming in one lap later. Tyres go on fine. But look, the fuel nozzle, they weren't ready. The fuelers didn't even have the hose in their hands. And Barrichello will wait a full 16 seconds, shaking his head in disbelief. And away he goes. Disaster for Rubens Barrichello.
Well, now, is it payback time for Rubens Barrichello? What is Michael Schumacher going to do when they rejoin the race there? Now, look, here's the replay of the fuel nozzle as we look past the mechanic, and you can see the problem that's the fuel nozzle that Nigel Stepney used to control, and Mika Hakkinen is off the course in the McLaren David Coulthard has already retired. Mika Häkkinen is out of the race, I think was in ninth position, and I cannot see Mika. He's obviously stalled his engine or lost the power. So both McLarens on lap 21 of this 53-lap race coming up towards half distance are out of the race. No points for McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, but there's a 22 points gap between them and Williams, who are in third position at the present moment. Montoya is in the top 6, of course, and Ralf Schumacher is now in second position, not having stopped any more than Montoya has. On lap 21, it's Montoya leading Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello, who has stopped, is in third place ahead of Michael Schumacher, who has stopped.
I think Williams will be every bit as surprised as we are that those Ferraris have gone for an apparent two-stopper. I thought the wins of Montoya, but it seems as if it could be a strategy they intended. But then in that case, why wasn't the fuel hose ready for Rubens Barrichello? Did he misunderstand the radio message, or what's gone on there? There has been a problem, no doubt about it, for the Ferrari team. Häkkinen's car then over the barrier with the tractor, yellow flags waving to warn the drivers that there are men and marshals on the racetrack. So Montoya leads from Schumacher, Barrichello and Michael Schumacher. So Barrichello did stay ahead of Michael Schumacher. James, what do you make of that?
Well, it's very interesting. There was absolutely no sign before it happened that they were going to do a two-stop strategy. And I was with you, Martin, thinking that maybe it was a switch. But if you look at it closely, they were turning some pretty tasty lap times. And of course, they have also seen that the Michelin tyre performance is not all it might be. Those guys on the Michelins are struggling, and they will do for the rest of this stint. They've got fuel on board. They're probably going to do another 10 or 15 laps. It may be that the fuel hoses were both on for a long time with Ferrari, and it may be that they've switched it. They were on originally a two-stop strategy, but they have put plenty of fuel in, and they might be able to outrun the Williamses, because the Williamses don't look comfortable at the moment. Currently, Michael Schumacher 28 seconds behind race leader Montoya, Barrichello 23 seconds, and that's not enough for Montoya to get in and get back out again in front. So it's touch and go, but I have a feeling that's what's happening.
Well, who says, Martin, it's a two-stop strategy? Why shouldn't they have come in early, taken on enough fuel to do the rest of the race distance?
Well, they may have done, but Michael wasn't stationary for that long. But of course, he carried a lot of, if he was one stopping, he carried a lot of fuel at the start of the race anyway. So probably only needed about 18 laps worth of fuel to see him through to the end. So we'll have to wait and see. That is a great unknown. Bernaldi doing what he apparently does best in Formula 1 and blocking a lot of people, and they're going very, very slowly in the process.
Mika Häkkinen waves to the crowd. He retires again from the Italian Grand Prix. Remember the time when he frustratedly threw his gloves down to the ground, having lost the lead. And Mika Häkkinen is out of a Grand Prix for the 8th time this season in this, the 15th race. Louise Goodman.
With David Coulthard, one of several retirements. David, quite a heavy rate of attrition so far. Is that always a worry at this race?
Well, you know, you kind of hope for it in other people's cars, but you don't want it in your own car. So obviously disappointed. It's some sort of engine failure of some description, so we'll find out later on.
Not been a brilliant weekend for McLaren, has it?
No, it's been a very difficult weekend. We've had a few problems along the way, and but nonetheless, we still hope to get points. You know, we know we can't win every race, and we've always had a difficult year this season. But I still felt it was possible to maybe pick up a couple of points.
Just one final question for you. What was Michael saying to you, all the drivers, before the race?
Well, we tried to get an agreement between all the drivers to avoid an incident, and largely we achieved that. But then the team owners obviously stepped in, and then it started to break everyone up. And you know, we just all agreed to be sensible and try and avoid an incident. So that's what I tried to do, and pretty much agreed something with Jarno that if I hadn't passed him before the first corner, then we weren't going to risk the incident at the first turn. So I'm a little disappointed that Jensen decided to come down the inside. Clearly, it ruined his race by doing that, and it could have caused other damage to other cars. So we're all out there to win, and this is a competition. It's not a moving over situation, but obviously emotions are running high, and I think that if the word goes out that we're all going to be sensible, I believe that all the drivers should stick to it. If you can't be unanimous in that, then what can we do?
Thanks, David.
Well, the trouble is, of course, you can't consult with all the drivers, and you can't guarantee that they will all be sensible. Enrico Bernaldi then in the arrows coming towards us is continuing to block, as he did with David Coulthard at Monaco, so noteworthily. And panic Panis continues to dodge about underneath the wing of the Arrows to look for a way to get through into 9th position, and Bernoldi continues to thwart him. We're on lap 24 now, and lap 26 is about half distance in this 53-lap race. As over the line goes Bernoldi 8th, Panis 9th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 10th position, up to the first chicane, and Bernoldi turns in, clips the apex, no way they're going to get through there, and closing up in the background you can see Fisichella in the Benetton, who is in 11th position. He's taking advantage of the fact that Bernoldi is holding up Panis and holding up Frentzen to close up in that 11th position and look for a way through.
The good news for Alesi is he's managed to pit. He's clearly on a 2-stopper as well, and managed to pit and come back out in 7th place because this line behind Bernoldi is lapping very slowly. But I have to say, Murray, everybody knows that Paddock acknowledges this is a one-stop race, so it's just amazing to see so many cars pitting so early.
We're on lap 25 now, and Montoya's lead over his teammate Ralf Schumacher is 21 seconds. He's yet to stop, as has Ralf Schumacher in the second Williams BMW. It's looking like a Williams 1-2 at the moment. Third is Barrichello ahead of Michael Schumacher, 2 Williams, 2 Ferraris, followed by Pedro de la Rosa up into 5th place in the Jaguar, and Jacques Villeneuve is 6th in the BAR. Well, say what you like, Martin, about Bernoldi, but you have to admit that that Arrows has got a lot of grunt from the Asia Tech engine, and it is a very slippery motor car on these straights. And Panis, who's got a lot of power in the Honda engine, cannot get past.
Absolutely, he's getting near enough, just about at the end of the straight, but can't make it stick when he gets there. Bernoldi able to brake reasonably late, but and positioning his car such that it'd be nearly impossible in normal circumstances to get past him. I guess that's his job in some respects, but I think 1 or 2 of his moves have been a little bit over-aggressive.
Well, they're coming up now to one of the Minardis. I think it's Alex Young from Malaysia, who's running well. He's 17th and last. He's been lapped already, but this is his first Grand Prix after having had a very torrid time in practice and in qualifying yesterday. Very calm, mature, sensible young man who's going a lot faster than people expected him to, as is Fisichella that we ride with now. And the car that you see in front of you as it flashes down towards the Parabolica ahead of Fisichella is Heinz-Harald Frentzen's car. Now, there is Panis, and he is 9th. Bernoldi slides wide. Now, this is Panis's opportunity, but he's still not close enough. But he is now, he's getting very close indeed, and he might just manage to squeeze through as they go through to the Rettifilio, and he's having a good look on the inside. Can Bernoldi cut across? And the answer will be yes, and Panis has to yield. But it's getting very, very fraught indeed with this battle for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th between Bernoldi, Panis, Frentzen and Fisichella. Panis looking again as they go round the grand curve. Lap 27, and it's getting very fraught here at Monza. Alex Young, there he is in the black Minardi with the red flashes on the front wing. He's being caught to be lapped by a monumental battle for 8th place between Bernoldi, Panis, Frentzen, Fisichella, and Heidfeld is closing up there as well. And the reason they're all getting so close is that Bernoldi is going slower than they would like to go, but they can't get past him.
Now, and you saw in the in Fisichella's overhead camera there at the front of that little pack was Bernoldi defending strongly his current 8th place position, and Panis looking more and more frustrated, it has to be said. Can he now make something of catching the Minardi? Young is very much driving his own pace, 4 seconds off the ultimate pace of this Grand Prix, and he moves to the left out of the way. Panis then nowhere near this time.
But Panis gets through. Young runs wide. That's a very sensible and responsible bit of driving. He knows he's much slower. It's his first Grand Prix. He's going to get out of the way and let them get on with the battle. And we ride with Fisichella, Giancarlo Fisichella, who started from the pit lane with after a fuel leak. He's in the spare car, the spare Benetton, and he's worked his way up now into 11th place, right behind Frentzen.
I think I can see out of the window the Williams mechanics getting ready for a stop. Montoya, of course, leads. Then we haven't seen him for a while in vision. He's 22 seconds ahead of teammate Ralf Schumacher in second place. And Barrichello did indeed hold third, or hold station ahead of Schumacher. Michael, that is, after that disastrous pit stop when the fuel hose wasn't ready. They're 3 seconds behind Ralf, and 5.2 seconds Michael is behind Barrichello for fourth place. Della Rosa then and Villeneuve fighting it out for fifth and sixth, some 20-odd seconds down the road.
And this four-car battle led by Bernoldi in 8th position is turning into a 6-car battle, because now Heidfeld is closing up in 12th position in the Sauber. There he is, and behind Helmut Kimi Räikkönen.
And here's Montoya, your race leader, about to come up behind that enormous squabble. So sensibly, Williams are going to bring him in this time around. He cuts in to the pit lane. It's an amazing pit lane here at Monza. You can attack it absolutely at 200 miles an hour, and then you've got to get on the spot. James Allen's there.
Cutting the race in half then. Juan Montoya coming in for his one and only fuel stop. He had a 25.7 second lead over Rubens Barrichello, and he was just about to catch that group, as you rightly pointed out. It's going to be very tight for him to get back out in front of Barrichello. Has he done it?
Well, we'll see. Montoya exits the pit lane now. I'm looking for Barrichello. There he is in the background. And we lost the picture, the critical picture. There is the Ferrari, and he goes through, and I think he's in front of Montoya, and they're up amongst this battle now. There is Rubens Barrichello in the naked Ferrari from the point of view of sponsorship stickers.
So that's second place then for Barrichello. Remember, Ralf Schumacher is still in front of him and has not pitted at this time. Rubens has made his stop. Michael's made a stop too, third and fourth. Will they stop again? Do you know? I haven't got a clue.
No, it's my guess that they're not going to stop, but it is no more than a guess. I've got no privileged information, but I do know that there is Rubens Barrichello, and he needs to win this race to enable him to move up to second in the Drivers' Championship, just 1 point ahead of David Coulthard if he does so, with 2 races still to go in America and Indianapolis. And there is the Williams BMW. Here is the Ferrari diving past the outside of Bernoldi.
Yes, and that's Bernoldi who's just pitted, so that's why he's not got the crocodile tail behind him of people clamouring to get past him. So Bernoldi has just made a pit stop. That's freed up Panis, Frentzen, Fisichella. Räikkönen had made a stop, and he got hooked up behind that battle too. Heidfeld was 12th, who started from the back of the grid.
And of course, this is the stage of the race when things get very confused indeed with the pit stops, particularly in view of the fact that they are in such a ragged pattern in comparison with what we're used to at Monza. Last year, for instance, the earliest pit stop we had was Jos Verstappen, who came in on lap 32, subsequently finished in 4th place. But now we watch Juan Pablo Montoya. He's in 3rd place, and he is out of the race goes Frentzen. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Prost with the Ferrari Acer engine is out of the Italian Grand Prix. But he's done a lot of good for the Prost team. His experience and maturity are helping them develop that car well. But Ralf Schumacher now on lap 30, yet to stop, leads the Italian Grand Prix from Rubens Barrichello by about 3.5 seconds. So for sure, when he does come in, it's going to be the Ferrari in the lead.
Yes, I still think that they managed to bring Montoya in to avoid him having to pass that queue of people. Smart move then. Ralf has not needed to do that because he was 22 seconds behind. He has not caught that group at this time. He can run a little bit longer, probably nearer to where he was scheduled to stop. But there you can see the gap then. It's 3.7 seconds to Barrichello. Michael Schumacher then a further 5.5 seconds away. And that's Montoya, of course, sorry, 5.5 seconds away. Schumacher falling back a little bit, not lapping at all fast, Michael Schumacher. 1:27.0 last time around. What's he going to do over the line this time? He's coming up to it soon. And 27.1, so Michael off the pace at this time.
Yeah, and you never know with Michael Schumacher. He's such a canny operator. This is his 159th Grand Prix, his 11th year of Grand Prix racing since he began with the Jordan team at that memorable Belgian Grand Prix in 1991. And his brain is like a computer, like a calculator. He's sizing up all the odds and all the opportunities all the time. But it's his brother, Ralph, in the lead at the present moment, and he's just made the fastest lap of this race, 1:25.671, and that is less about 2/100ths of a second off the fastest lap, a new lap record on this revised circuit that Mika Häkkinen put up last year. And we're now with Fisichella in the Benetton, the sole Benetton. There are 16 cars left out of the 22 who started. Verstappen is out, Häkkinen is out, Irvine is out, Coulthard is out. Both the McLarens, Button is out, and Jarno Trulli is out. As Fisichella, who was in 9th position, concludes his pit stop. Up goes the board to stop the petrol splashing onto the exhaust outlets, and out of the lane goes Fisichella.
Brand new set of rear Michelins, a very, very well-used set of fronts that they put on Fisichella's car to try to keep the balance, try to stop this problem they have from time to time with the Michelins, with the front going away and then coming back in terms of performance. Ralph then still on his original set of tyres. He's on lap 32. And still, he's now 4.4 seconds ahead of Barrichello, a little bit faster last time around.
But he's still got to stop, of course, and 22 laps to go. It's amazing how quickly this Italian Grand Prix goes. Tremendously fast circuit, of course, lapping at about 150 miles an hour. The fastest race of all time, the average by Peter Gethin in 1971 in the BRM, at nearly 151 miles an hour. And if that seems strange to you, there was not then, of course, a chicane at the Rettifilo, there was not one at the Roger, there was not one at the Ascari turns either, and James Allen has got news for us.
OK, Murray, let's look at a few of the possibilities here. We're just asking, do Ferrari have to stop again? Well, it's certainly intriguing. The battle for this race win, from my view, is between Montoya and Rubens Barrichello, because Ralf Schumacher was quite a long way behind those two, if you remember, in the first phase of this race. To get through to the finish, Ferrari they stopped on lap 17-18. They would have to have 100 kilos of fuel on board from that point onwards to make it to the finish. Now, that's an awfully long fuel stop. It's about 11 or 12 seconds. I remember seeing Rubens being slow, but it was because the nozzle wasn't going on properly. Michael's fuel nozzle went on properly, and he stopped for 10 seconds. So it's difficult to read this. It is actually possible they're on a two-stop plan. I'm told that when they were here testing last month, they were running two-stop fuel loads, possibly in anticipation of this. And another theory floated by an engineer from a rival team is they may have a slight brake problem today as well. Either way, it's certainly going to be very interesting in the next 10 or 15 laps to see how it all shakes out. Watch the battle between Montoya and Rubens.
I agree with you on that battle. I mean, all of the cars there have got dustbin lids for brake ducts. They do use the brakes very heavily. I'm not sure of if you're right on the 100 kilos, and you may well be, I'm not sure if the Ferrari will take 100 kilos of fuel, or any other of the Formula 1 cars for that matter. So it's pointing then that Ferrari will stop again.
And as Ralf Schumacher again increases his pace in the first sector, more news from Louise Goodman.
Yeah, and stood in the paddock with Mika Häkkinen. Mika, we just saw your car off to the side of the track. Tell us why you retired.
Yeah, looks like the gearbox gave up. I lost the gears and lost the drive of the car, and that's it.
You obviously made your decision to step back from the sport before this weekend, but in light of everything that's happened this weekend, that must have just reinforced your view, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure. I think this is one of the reasons why it's good to have a break. You know, I've been having difficulties many years, and this is one of the reasons. But guys, you know, we have to understand. You know, this is not only the reason. This is not only the reason why I go to the break. You know, there's plenty of other things.
Thanks, Mika.
Slightly chaotic looking pit stop for Jean Alesi. Looks like they weren't expecting him in the pits. Bit of musical chairs with his tyres as they were running around the car. So Alesi then for his second stop of the afternoon. He was in P7 when he came in. He has been flying through the day. He appears to be running a two-stopper, which explains his relative pace compared to qualifying, I think. But Jean Alesi nonetheless going well.
Jacques Villeneuve has just come into the pits. There he is from 6th position, which should enable the French Sicilian John Lacey to get back into the 6th position and into the points. He's already scored a point for Jordan, and he's only been with the team for a race or two. And here is he is coming down towards the Parabolica now, pursued by race leader Ralf Schumacher. And his advantage over Rubens Barrichello has increased from 3.7 seconds to 5.2 seconds. Montoya is still third, 14 seconds behind the leader. Michael Schumacher is still fourth, 2 seconds behind Montoya, and catching him, Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar is up there in the points in 5th place, and John Lacey has made a pit stop, as a result of which he's actually down to 8th position now. Villeneuve has been in, and where he is at the moment, I don't know. We have to wait and see.
So only two men not to yet pit. Leader Ralf Schumacher, who's running the typical race here at Monza that we've had now for several years of running as far as you can, but we know he was too slow in the first sector of the race. He's got to do something special, just put in a new fastest lap of the race. He's trying to do something special. Barrichello now 6 seconds behind him. The other man not yet to have stopped is 5th place man Pedro de la Rosa, quietly minding his own business, doing a good job.
Well, Ralf Schumacher last year, who finished in 3rd place, left it until lap 43 to come in. Now, admittedly, he had a very different BMW engine. The Minardi team have got a problem down there with the right rear for Alonso's car. It looks as though they can't get it seated properly on the spigots. And on goes the wheel gun. And we now look at the Williams BMW of Ralf Schumacher coming through to complete his 35th lap in this 53-lap race, and increasing his lead yet again momentarily as he comes into the pits. Now, Rubens Barrichello takes the lead in the Ferrari. He was only 6 seconds behind. Montoya, it's going to be a close run thing for 2nd place as Ralf Schumacher exits the pit lane between himself and his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya, who has, of course, already stopped.
Took a twisted front wing out of that car of Ralf Schumacher. They can make a quick adjustment on that to give him a bit less grip at the front, maybe the back end sliding a bit too much, generate a touch more understeer to balance the car up. So Ralf then is beginning to have a good race. Pity he lost so much in the early stages, and this is going to be fascinating to see how this one shakes out. Really is intriguing. It's going to be a tough one to call, Murray.
17 laps to go, 17 laps to go, and they are averaging about 1 minute 25 seconds per lap, as Rubens Barrichello comes towards us now in the Ferrari, down to the Ascari curves. He has, of course, lapped the Minardi, and on lap 36, Ralf Schumacher leads Barrichello. Montoya, Schumacher, Michael, Pedro de la Rosa is still 5th, and Jacques Villeneuve is 6th. Well, I didn't know how this race was going to develop at all when they were lined up on the grid with all the indecision about what was going to happen. It has turned out to be a real stormer, and thank heavens for that. Now we're on lap 37, as you see Michael Schumacher there. He's closing up on Montoya. There is the 4 times world champion. As you can see, there's slightly less than 1.3 seconds between them. And Michael Schumacher is lapping a 10th or 2 faster than the Colombian, which is enabling to inch up. But it's traffic that's going to be the question now as they go into the Roja. You can see, for instance, Montoya closing up on Fisichella, who's down in 10th position at the present moment. The Jaguar in the pit lane of Pedro de la Rosa. He came in 5th position. He was a long way ahead, and there goes the Williams BMW past Fisichella, which is now leaving the way for Michael Schumacher to do the same thing, and that's a help for Montoya, who is on his 37th lap in this 53-lap race. A big gap between Michael Schumacher, who is 3rd, and his brother Ralf, who is in 4th position. But as we expected, it is, as it has been all the way, a battle between the Ferraris of Michael Schumacher and Barrichello and the two Williams BMWs of Montoya and Ralf Schumacher. Both the McLarens are out of the race. There are 15 cars left out of the 22 that started, with Trulli, Button, Coulthard, Irvine, Häkkinen, Verstappen and Heinz-Harald Frentzen having retired from the Italian Grand Prix. Well, lap 38 out of 53, and Rubens Barrichello leads the Italian Grand Prix from Montoya's BMW. Williams, 13 seconds. Michael Schumacher, there he is, right up behind the Williams BMW and ahead of his brother by 7 seconds. Ralf Schumacher in the second Williams. Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar is still in the points, 5th place ahead of Jacques Villeneuve's BAR. But we are in a state of concern and wonderment about what is going to happen in terms of pit stops. Are they coming in again for a second stop, which I would have thought was extremely unlikely in view of the history of Monza, which is traditionally a one-stop strategy circuit. This very, very quick lap where you want to spend as little time in the pits as possible, but there's a very strange pattern. Can you add anything to that, James?
Well, I can add a few things. Looking at the lap times at the moment, you can see Rubens Barrichello is just a second a lap faster than Juan Montoya. Now, that could be a little bit to do with tyres, but it's more to do with the fact that he's probably a lot lighter in terms of his car. Certainly, teams down here believe Ferrari will have to stop again. There was this little rumour going around about Ferrari having a sort of a brake problem. That might just have tipped them towards the conservative route. Protect the brakes by not carrying too much fuel at any stage in this race, i.e. go for a two-stopper. If that is the case, turn the whole race on its head.
Yes, and the crucial thing then, and I think it is looking more and more likely they will stop again, but the crucial thing then is, what is the gap that Barrichello can pull out before that stop? At the moment, it's 14 seconds, and he's moving away, as James said, at a second a lap. So it's really nip and tuck between Rubens Barrichello and Juan Pablo Montoya for the spoils today. Both of them desperately need to win this Grand Prix.
What sort of an advantage do you think he needs when he comes in? 20 seconds, would that do it?
No, longer than that. I mean, he'll be stationary for a 5 or 6 seconds. Maybe they won't go for a tyre stop. It'll be, as we call it, a splash and dash. But even so, it's got to cost you 22, 23 seconds to negotiate the pit lane. The situation here, of course, Murray, is while you're in the pit lane doing 120 kilometres per hour, it's on a piece of track where you're normally doing 320 kilometres per hour, so you lose an awful lot of time.
Well, whatever. We're riding now with Rubens Barrichello, race leader on his 40th lap in this 53-lap race, which is coming very, very quickly towards its conclusion. And he is now 15 seconds ahead as Ralf Schumacher starts to add the pressure. He's in 4th place, 5.5 seconds behind his brother. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1:25.073, which has broken the lap record created by Mika Häkkinen last year by some 0.6 of a second. So the Williams BMW is really flying. He stopped, of course. Montoya has stopped. Michael Schumacher, who is 3rd there, has stopped. So has Rubens Barrichello. What's going to happen?
Bring Ralf Schumacher back into the equation. He had a quick stop. We know he put some very quick laps in before his stop, and now he's lapping quickly too. And he's just 5.5 seconds behind Michael. And there he is, and he will not stop again this afternoon. So reintroduce Ralf into the equation. I can see the Ferrari mechanics out in the pit lane. Ferrari have got to stop again. This is looking super for the Williams team.
And it's looking pretty good for Jaguar at the present moment as well. They've only had 2 points finishes so far this year. A magnificent 3rd place for Eddie Irvine and Monaco, and in comes the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher from 3rd position. And that's going to let his brother up into 3rd place in the Williams BMW as the fuel goes into the Ferrari and the board is clear to the front. There was a splash and dash, and he is out.
And they very confidently chose to change the wheels and tyres in that as well. So Michael then rejoins the racetrack, and Ralph will be delighted at that. He was just 1 second behind Michael as they went over the line. And this then is Montoya lapping Ralph Schumacher lapping Fisichella. What are we seeing? I think we're just seeing a normal replay.
Yeah, meantime, now, here we are with Rubens Barrichello leading the Italian Grand Prix. Is he going to come in? If Michael Schumacher's had to come in, then Rubens Barrichello is going to have to come in. And I think yes, I can see the Ferrari mechanics down there. And here is Barrichello. There they are. And Barrichello goes into the Parabolica. And he will peel off now. He's leading Montoya by just under 16 seconds at the moment. James Allen.
Well, he needed about 23 if he was going to get back out in front. I suppose the question now is, will he get back out in front of Ralph Schumacher? And even that is going to be pretty marginal. He might just about do it. It's going to be very, very close indeed. Rubens gets out. I think he will make it. I think he will come out in third place.
Well, there he is, and I'm looking down the track now to see whether Montoya goes through, and yes, he does so! Montoya has taken the lead in the Italian Grand Prix, and Ralph goes through, Ralph Schumacher goes through, and this is really exciting in the closing stages of the event. Lap 42, Barrichello down in third place. Both the Williams BMWs are ahead of him.
There's Montoya then having lapped the BAR of Panis. Panis running down in 9th place. Teammate Villeneuve up in 6th place at the moment in a single World Championship point situation. 5 seconds 5.1 seconds then as they crossed the line last time around between 1 and 2.
Well, hear this, Williams have won not 1 but 3 races this year, all of them by Ralph Schumacher. Montoya has not won a Grand Prix yet in his first season of Formula One, and it's going to be a mighty close thing. There's the Williams, there is Rubens Barrichello.
Well, Rubens lost about 8 seconds in that pit stop when the fuel hose was not ready for him. But let's see if it completely ruined his chances in this Grand Prix. At the moment he crosses the line, he is 6.4 seconds behind. So yes, indeed, that fuel hose has put Rubens out of position.
And of course it's making things look much rosier for David Coulthard as far as second place in the World Championship is concerned, because Rubens Barrichello is only on 4 potential World Championship points at the present moment, and he started this race 9 points behind Coulthard in second place. Coulthard says the thing he's really interested in is winning, but I'm sure he'd rather finish second than third.
Michael Schumacher having an understandably, considering how he's been this weekend, lacklustre afternoon. He's 18 seconds behind this fight, having also made his second stop. So Barrichello then, can he attack and can he again pass to Williams? Remember, he passed Montoya quite comfortably earlier on in the Grand Prix. He's always been ahead of Ralph in the race so far, but he's appeared to have the best car in the early stages. Let's see what he can do with it now.
Well, this is lap 43 in the 53-lap race, and whatever anybody says, no one is going to be able to accuse Michael Schumacher of making things difficult for his teammate Rubens Barrichello. There is the Brazilian, and Michael Schumacher is a long way down the track behind him in 4th place, but it's still the 2 Williams up front, the 2 Ferraris behind them. Pedro de la Rosa is still in the Jaguar for 5th position, ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR. It's looking good for another point for the troubled BAR team, which will be very welcome for them. Kimi Raikkonen is still there, he's ahead of Alesi, who is 8th. Panis is 9th in the second BAR. Fisichella is in 10th position. 15 cars left out of the 22 who started, and you saw the gap there now. Montoya just 4.2 seconds ahead of Ralph Schumacher, who has just done the fastest first sector of this Italian Grand Prix, this 3.6 mile lap, and that is the German who now lives in Austria, and you can see those Michelins are getting very, very, very well scrubbed in front as the Williams crew just sit dispassionately in the garage watching what is going on. They've done their job, and Schumacher is continuing, Ralf Schumacher, continuing to maintain that blistering pace as the Williams bears down now on the Jordan of Jean Alesi, who is in 8th place. Only the top 8 are on the same lap now. Panis, who is 9th, has been lapped.
That's looking a touch wide for Jordan, that one. I believe it's a BAR they're bearing down on now. Let's see what the relative lap times are. Montoya goes over the line on 25.7. Ralf Schumacher on a 26.2. Rubens Barrichello on a 25.5. Barrichello quickest that time around, and look at the gap, ever decreasing. Ralf Schumacher constantly locking his front tyres into those chicanes now.
Yeah, and Ralf Schumacher is grimly holding on to that place. .7 seconds now separating the first 3 as Olivier Panis in the BAR in 9th position sees in his mirrors the Ralf Schumacher Williams BMW, and Barrichello right up behind him, starting to crowd the BAR and saying, move over, let us through. The blue flags wave. Panis knows that he will have to give way for those two. I'm sure he would do anyway. He's an extremely polite and experienced driver, this Frenchman. As there is Montoya, who has lapped Alesi. There is Panis in 9th position in the white BAR. 2nd and 3rd behind him, almost a full lap now, is the Williams BMW of Ralf Schumacher, and the Scarlet, all Scarlet, no sponsorship stickers on the Ferrari, as they go through into lap 46 out of 53. Not long to go now. It's looking very good for Montoya, but is it looking good for a Williams 1-2? Ralf Schumacher very pressed indeed.
Barrichello losing a bit, Montoya pulling away that time as these two now move into a contest situation. It's really playing into Montoya's hands. Barrichello in a great position to have a go up the inside into the second chicane, but got to have a very willing partner to get away with that, and Ralf taking the easy way through the chicane.
Yeah, he won't be penalised for that, of course. He didn't actually have an advantage. He's gained a few feet as a result of it, though, I think. Yeah,
I think that's touch and go. I think that I've seen that several times this afternoon now, where, sure, they didn't lose a place, but boy, did they pull out some space.
And yes, that's exactly what Ralf Schumacher has done. And remember, he had a problem when he exited over a white line, and we're now on lap 46. Just 7 laps to go at Monza. It's clear lead for Montoya, but look at this battle for second.
It's going to be Barrichello at the end of the straight. Barrichello got a nice slipstream off the Parabolica, and I think he can brake later as well, and he has track position. Barrichello will take second place. Ralf desperately trying to go down the outside, and look, that in my view is taking an advantage of the slip road, and he is, well, if he's not letting him by, he jolly well should be. Ralf will be penalised for that. The second time we've seen him do that, taking advantage by using the escape road, and I think he just let him blend through, to be honest.
Just shows how fast a racing brain has to work. I'm sure that Ralf would have said to himself, I've gone over the green concrete, I'm going to be penalised, I'll just feather the throttle slightly and let Rubens Barrichello through and hope to fight back, but I don't think he's going to be able to, because Rubens Barrichello is on a charge. That 47, 53 lap race, Montoya leads by 7 seconds. Here is the replay.
And look, he got in the slipstream. It's an invisible energy that's pulling you along there. Ralf choosing not to close the inside line. And then Rubens went into the corner with his nose ahead. And you would have to say then that Ralf regained a position by going across the runoff area there. Without doubt, he would have been penalised had he have maintained position, in my view.
Side by side, down to the retafilio they went. I'm not going to give way, says Ralf Schumacher. I'm not going to give way either, said Rubens Barrichello. But in the end, Ralf Schumacher had to do that, and the Ferrari is now up into second place. Williams BMW leads, Ferrari second, Williams BMW third, and Ferrari fourth. Pedro de la Rosa is still there in the Jaguar, looking good for 2 points. Jacques Villeneuve still there in the BAR in sixth position. We are on lap 48 in this race now. We're riding with Rubens Barrichello now, and there you can see the replay as he cuts across on the apex. Ralf Schumacher goes over the green, stays ahead, backs off. Barrichello goes through, up round the grand curve to the Roja.
He definitely backed off, no question about it, and rightly so. So what can Rubens do now? He lost another 2/10 on the previous lap due to traffic, I believe, but he's got a lot of time, 7.2 seconds to find. And I think that's going to take a bit of doing in the remaining laps.
If this race lasted a lot longer, I couldn't see Rubens Barrichello catching Montoya the way the Colombian is going now. He really and there is Alex Young out of the Italian Grand Prix. He has beached his Minardi on the gravel. Rear wheels on the loose stuff. He gets wheel spin when he feeds the power through. He's out of the race, but he's got nothing to be ashamed of. He's driven with great distinction in his first Grand Prix, and that's what happened.
And it's in a very tricky place. He's on the exit of the first Lesmo corner. Second time he spun in those 2 corners today. And that car will take a little bit of getting out of the way. Yellow flags will be ferociously waving as the cars head down there. They will have to get some kind of vehicle in there to pull it out.
I wonder if Montoya wins this race, what his demeanour is going to be like when he's in the interview room. He is an astonishingly calm and mature, matter-of-fact chap. He doesn't have what a lot of people regard as the South American temperament, and he's got this tremendous background behind him in Formula 3000 as the European champion, and then in Champ Car racing. That's Benoldi on a replay going over the edge of the chicane all by himself, so he won't suffer except in terms of time. But Montoya, as I say, richly deserves this win if it's coming his way, because he's on lap 49 now. There are still 4 laps to go at the end of this one, each of them of some 3.6 miles long. Many a slip twixt cup and lip as the Minardi is removed, and I've seen many Grand Prix being lost on the last lap, let alone the last 4. But the Williams is looking extremely good. They're getting some, not revenge, but a return after the terrible race they had 2 weeks ago in Belgium when they started on the front row of the grid with Montoya and Ralf Schumacher in pole and second places, only to have Montoya stalled, then his engine overheated. Ralf Schumacher started up on the jacks, had a terrible race. But Montoya now is really flying, as is Rubens Barrichello. We are looking over the top of the Ferrari now as he goes round the grand curve at some 155 miles an hour. Backs off for turn 4. He was doing over 200 miles an hour as he approached it. Out of the left, out of the right. Now up to the first Lesmo, the right-hander.
Yellow's still waving, although I think the truck is out of the way. That is your leader then exiting the second of those 2 corners, and as Rubens was going through the first, so it gives you an idea of the distance between them. Exactly 6 seconds as they crossed the line, the end of the previous lap. I think if Rubens were able to catch Montoya, he may have a pretty solid chance of passing him into the first chicane, but he's not going to catch him in the time available.
No, 6 seconds. The gap's come down from there. So that is the gap visually. It's a lot more than it looks as you look down through the television lens, down the straight from the Parabolica back to the Ascari curves. And here is Montoya exiting that Parabolica to complete the lap and go through. He's now got 3 laps to go, including the one he has just started. 14 cars left out of the 22 who started, and now you see Rubens Barrichello. He has really got the loud pedal down. That is Pedro de la Rosa starting another lap, still in 5th position. I was talking to Nicky Lauder at great length yesterday, the Jaguar team boss, and he was saying they've got a long way to go, and indeed they have. This year's car is not nearly as good as they wanted it to be. There's a better one coming along next year, but it's not until they've got a wind tunnel that they can really operate on all the time that they're going to make progress. But 2 points in the bag will be very satisfactory for Jaguar at the present moment. It'll get them that much closer to Benetton, who are in 7th place in the Constructors' Championship.
We saw and a great drive from De La Rosa, has to be said today, and it'll be a well-earned 2 points for him. Surprising that Lacey, he's 2 stopped, of course. We saw them both down in 8th place. He was absolutely flying in the beginning, but he hasn't shown anything like that kind of pace since, for whatever reason. But Villeneuve looking solid for that final point, although he's got Raikkonen just 3 seconds behind him in 7th. We haven't seen anything of that fight as we watch Montoya now 5.4 seconds ahead with this and 1 other lap to go. So Montoya looking good for he's due a win, isn't he, Murray?
Yeah, he certainly is. Here he is, and just to establish a point in the Constructors' Championship, Sauber have got neither car in the points because Raikkonen is just out of the points in 7th position. Heidfeld is down in 11th position, and if Villeneuve can finish in 6th position where he is at the moment, it will mean that BAR have closed the gap on the team in front of them, Sauber, by 1 point. It's going to be very, very close after the last Grand Prix of the year in Japan. But now we are on the last lap of the Italian Grand Prix, and Juan Pablo Montoya has got a comfortable 5-second lead over the man you are watching at the moment, Rubens Barrichello, with Ralf Schumacher 10 seconds behind him. So here is Montoya exiting and coming down towards us. He's only got a small part of the lap left now as he exits the second Lesmo, comes down towards the Ascari curves. There he is. That's where Mika Häkkinen went off yesterday and heavily damaged the McLaren, which has been rebuilt. But it looks as though Juan Pablo Montoya is going to give Williams their 4th victory of the year and his first in his Formula One career, which I'm sure is going to lead to many, many more. Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia is going to win his 15th Grand Prix by, I would estimate, about 5 seconds from the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. Out of the parabolica, down goes the accelerator. He can almost see the checkered flag now. There it is. Montoya wins in Italy at Monza for Williams and BMW, as Rubens Barrichello finishes second, 5 seconds behind the Williams BMW. And we now wait for Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher.
Yep, fuel hose cost Rubens Barrichello a chance of victory today, and a probable victory, it has to be said. Barrichello, I think, the fastest man out there on balance, but only just. It would have been such a close fight. Michael Schumacher crossing the line, you saw in 4th, and Montoya deserves it. And what a great Philip, at least a tiny bit for the world of kart racing after the terrible accident of Alex Zanardi yesterday, which saddened everybody in professional motor racing. Of course, goes without saying, but he was a particularly popular driver.
And a Williams driver.
Absolutely, and a Williams driver, of course. And that's just a little tiny something for kart racing. But for Montoya, a very important moment in his Grand Prix career.
Yes, scarlet Ferrari-coloured smoke there. They would have hoped that it was for a Ferrari first, either Rubens or Michael Schumacher, but it was for the white and blue of Williams. James Allen.
Well, Murray, I'm down here in the Williams garage with an absolutely delighted Sir Frank Williams. He always had faith in this Juan Montoya. He brought him over from America. He's got his first win finally.
Well, he's always been a quick driver over the last few years, and now he's settled down into the team. He's learning what to do with a Grand Prix car, and I would think he'll win a lot of races in his career from now on, hopefully many with us.
It was a very exciting motor race, wasn't it? We always believed that Ferrari had to make that second stop, though, I guess.
No, we thought that, like us, they were on a one-stopper. We were delighted to see them stop. and judging by the fuel amount they put in, we're fairly sure they would have to stop for a second time. Surprised us, but we're very happy.
Many congratulations, Frank.
Well, congratulations, Sir Frank Williams. Congratulations, Patrick Head. Congratulations, Gavin Fisher, who designed the car with Jeff Williams, aerodynamicist. Congratulations, Sam Michael, and everybody else at Williams, at Grove, and here at Monza. Williams well and truly back in the hunt with the BMW engine, having suffered in the last few years with other engines before they got this tremendously powerful and now reliable BMW engine. In the Drivers' Championship, as a result of finishing in 4th place, Michael Schumacher has now exceeded the points that he got last year. David Coulthard is still in 2nd place, but instead of being 9 points ahead of Rubens Barrichello, he is now only 3 points ahead, and he is only 9 points ahead of Ralf Schumacher, so it's still up for grabs who is going to be 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. There is Ralf Schumacher. Montoya has moved up to 5th position in the Drivers' Championship from 6th place, and Mika Häkkinen has been pushed down a place. I think that will be of academic interest to the Finn. But now the Tifosi, as the Ferrari-mad Italian Formula One fans have always been called, pour on to the circuit, as traditionally they have done for years and years and years, to assemble underneath the podium to pay homage to Juan Pablo Montoya, to their Ferrari driver Rubens Barrichello, and to the 2nd Williams BMW driver Ralf Schumacher, with Michael Schumacher in the points but not on the podium. But he's had enough of those in his career. The incredible 4 times world champion Michael Schumacher has been up on that podium many, many times. 95 times, over 60% of his races he's finished in the top 3. He won't be too unhappy. He was very unhappy to start this race, and he, as I know everybody else is, will be very happy to know that it has gone without incident. Not without incident in terms of racing excitement, and it's a new victor at Monza in Italy in superlative weather conditions. In the Constructors' Championship, of course, it's yet more points for Ferrari, and they've now got nearly double the points of McLaren, who are 2nd. But McLaren are now going to have to fight for that 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship, because they're only 8 points ahead of Williams, and there are still 32 Constructors' Championship points to be won in the remaining 2 races.
This man deserves to be standing on the top step of that podium, no doubt about it.
We're going to hear the Colombian national anthem. Difficult one to follow over the noise of the crowd, but it is a very, very happy, and deservedly so, Juan Pablo Montoya.
Juan Pablo, many congratulations. Your first victory, the first victory for a Colombian in Formula One. How do you feel?
I'm just so happy, you know. And first of all, I think I want to thank everybody at Williams, BMW, Michelin. They've done a fantastic job for me, and I'm just so pleased with the result.
Thank you, Juan. Rubens, a great race from yourself. You overtook both these guys next to you at one point, but it all seemed to go wrong in that first pit stop. What happened?
Well, I'm not really sure what happened. We lost a lot of time, but you know, as I said before, we would put a great show. I mean, the car was very well. I think Bridgestone did a fantastic job with the tires, and we were very competitive with the engine as well. So it was great. But unfortunately, we lost that little bit, and it wasn't enough to win the race.
Hey, Rubens. Ralph, you achieved fastest lap, but it seems your car wasn't very consistent today. Was that the case?
No, I must say, didn't get it right the whole weekend, basically. We had a few problems with tyres, but you know, team did a fantastic job in finishing first and third, and that's, I think, it's a great achievement. So big thanks to the team.
We now go back to Indianapolis, where, of course, last time you were there, you won the 500s. What are your feelings going into that race?
I think it's going to be a very emotional race for everybody, and I think, you know, I'm very happy to go back there. You know, last time I was there, I won. You know, got my first Formula 1 win now, so it'd be, you know, the car should work there pretty well, so it should be quite interesting.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, word from each in your own languages, starting with Juan Pablo.
Pues la verdad estoy muy contento con el resultado. El carro estaba funcionando muy bien durante todo el fin de semana. En la carrera no tenemos el carro más rápido, pero estuvo muy consistente y nos ayudó mucho, y la verdad estoy muy contento de la primera victoria.
Thank you. And Rubens.
Obviamente foi fim de semana muito difícil. Acho que o ambiente estava muito carregado dentro da Ferrari. Então estou muito contente que o fim de semana tenha terminado. Foi uma corrida que eu acho que eu dei o melhor de mim. Foi uma pena ter perdido todo aquele tempo no pit stop. Se não fosse por isso, acho que teria dado para ganhar a corrida. Mas de qualquer forma, eu estou só contente que tenha terminado, que todo mundo tenha saúde, porque afinal de contas eu fiquei muito chocado com o acidente do Zanardi ontem e não passei bem durante a corrida quando pensava.
Thank you, Rubens. And finally, Ralph.
Ja, ich glaube, es war ein hervorragendes Wochenende fürs Team, Erster und Dritter zu werden. Also ein Dank an all die Jungs. Nur man muss mir verzeihen, wenn ich nicht gerade allzu happy darüber bin, weil ich glaube, dieses Wochenende hat es genug schlimme Dinge gegeben, wie verschiedene Unfälle, und deshalb bin ich vielleicht nicht ganz so gut drauf. Dafür muss ich mich entschuldigen.
Thank you, gentlemen, and many congratulations for your results. Thanks a lot.
10 today? It's amazing.
No, it's 47.
There you go, you can walk another fucking way, mate. Well done, mate. Fucking hell.
It's so painful that last 5 laps.
Mia figlia desidera un cappellino dato da Berger, se è possibile, sì, certo, io te l'ho chiesto adesso.
Attenzione, ricordiamo a tutto il pubblico che è aperta anche l'uscita della parabolica. Uscite verso la parabolica, dopo il ponte andate a destra verso la
Right.
Yeah, it was obviously a very difficult weekend, but it was quite an exciting race, a very exciting race. We had a little problem with Rubens in the first pit stop, unfortunately, with the fuel rig. And that was a shame because it would have been certainly very much closer at the end if we hadn't had that problem. Rubens drove a fantastic race. And if you think of Hockenheim, how we struggled there with Williams, and we came here and we had a race with them. So I'm very pleased with the way the team and Bridgestone, everybody's responded to make our car competitive at tracks like this.
Michael was not very focused. I think that it was disturbed from a lot of things.
Yeah, he's a very sensitive guy, Michael, and he's been upset by the events of the last week or so. And Zanardi was a friend of his as well, so it's been a difficult weekend for him. But yeah, just been a very difficult weekend for everybody.
What do you think about Juan Pablo Montoya?
About
Juan Pablo Montoya?
Oh, he's very good, very good. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season he was approaching it incorrectly, but I think he's quieted down. He's clearly a very, very good driver. So somebody we're going to have to be careful of in the future.
Thank you. Beh, insomma, considerazioni su Juan Pablo Montoya, Lorenzo.
Come stai?
No, tu come stai?
Oh, I'm so happy. It's amazing, you know, I can't even believe it yet.
L'Italia ti porta fortuna?
Yeah, it looks like. I don't mind, you know. 2 races in Italy and both won by Williams. I think it's good. I think, you know, this for BMW, Williams and Michelin is just so special and very pleased.
Are you happy more for this first winner or in Indianapolis?
Well, I think this is the best place where you can win a race, you know. Italy is like a museum of racing, and to win here is just like winning Indy, the 500.
Could you remember 1 minute Zanardi? You substituted him during the 2 years ago in Chip Ganassi team.
Yeah, I think it's very bad what happened to him, and you know, I've been calling Koala to see how he's doing, and you know, this is a race I want to dedicate to him as well, because you know, he deserves so much and he's been always really good.
Good luck. Beh, insomma, ha ricordato anche Alex Zanardi, Lorenzo.
And you're back with us at Monza. The Italian Grand Prix has been won by the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya in a Williams, Barrichello second in the Ferrari, Ralf Schumacher third in the second Williams, and joining us now, Williams technical director Patrick Head. 2 out of 3, not bad, Patrick.
Yes, very pleased with that. Very pleased for Juan Pablo, obviously, who's been knocking on the door for quite some time this year. And a little disappointed we didn't get a 1-2, but Ralph, who was very quick in the race, had a few problems, a little bit of problems with blisters on his rear tyres that happened very suddenly. And so it meant he couldn't hold on to his second position.
We looked at you early in the race, and it looked as though those Ferraris had the legs on you, and 1 or 2 people thought that you might be struggling with the tyres. Did you realise that Ferrari were on a 2-stopper?
No. We thought it was possible, but no, we didn't. I mean, you don't really know. We knew that they were quick, but obviously when they came in so early and we saw how much time they took to putting fuel in there, that it was clear they were on a 2-stop.
You've won here in the traditional fashion, haven't you? Go as far as you can, have 1 stop and then rush for home.
Well, it's probably traditional because it's the best way, really. I think Ferrari maybe had a little bit of brake problems or something, and that maybe chased them into a 2-stop.
Give us your assessment of Juan Pablo Montoya up here in the studio, Patrick. We've all been wondering, when is he going to win a Formula 1 race? Was he getting a little bit desperate to do so?
Well, he didn't show any signs of desperation, but I mean, he's been on pole for 3 of the last 4 Grand Prix, so it was obviously coming, and obviously the things that happened in the team on Sunday at Spa didn't help his situation there, but anyway, it all worked out fine for him today, and he's done a fantastic job. And obviously we're a little bit subdued with obviously the events in America, but as well as that, hearing about Alex Zanardi's accident that he had yesterday, we're all very sad about.
Absolutely, and of course all we are as well, Patrick. I just want to ask you about one thing, going back to the start of the race. The drivers did not want to overtake, or some of them, over the first couple of chicanes, and presumably you, as one of the team bosses, said, we are here to race. Is that right?
I have to say I didn't get involved in that discussion. There were obviously discussions going on, and obviously the events of the previous week and the events of the first lap last year were heavy on everybody's minds, and obviously the start and the entry to the first couple of tight corners is the most critical time, but some people might say the most exciting time of a race meeting. But anyway, it was a debate more amongst the drivers and the FIA.
Was it your impression that all the drivers were going flat out from the start, or was there a bit of confusion there, do you feel?
No, I think they were all going flat out. I don't think that there was any agreement, but luckily there was very limited problem at the first corner. I think Trulli got sideways under braking, but generally it was reasonably clear first lap.
There's one other question I'd like to throw to you as we look ahead a couple of weeks. The American Grand Prix at Indianapolis, there is a debate raging down the pit lane that we're going to reflect a bit later on. Where do you and where do Williams stand in regard to taking your team to the American Grand Prix in a couple of weeks?
Well, I think it's really a matter for the Americans and the organised to decide. I'm sure there are significant and complex security matters, and obviously the Americans have got to make sure that they're satisfied that their security requirements are covered. But I mean, it is what we do. We are a professional racing team, and the drivers are drivers, and it's just they do that as opposed to work in other professions. And I'm sure an awful lot of work and study will be done to see that the required security levels can be achieved. If that can be satisfied, then we should be racing at Indianapolis.
You'll be aware that one of your drivers, Ralf Schumacher, has made it very plain he's not happy about going. Yes, I mean, I think every individual will have their own opinion, but I think we will have to be advised by people handling security in America, and we'll obviously take our judgment with the rest of the Formula One teams. Patrick, appreciate you joining us. I appreciate I've thrown quite a few topics at you in a very short time. A couple of weeks is a long time in Formula One, isn't it, after what happened in Spa? You've had a much better weekend here, haven't you?
Yes, we've all been feeling sick as a parrot, as they say, for the last 14 days or so, 13 days, or sick as parrots. But obviously the events on Sunday made us look rather stupid, but down one time, up another. That's one of the beauties of this game. There are 17 races, and they're all to an equal level with equal deserve.
And a bit of satisfaction beating Ferrari on the home ground?
I think beating Ferrari anywhere is good. I don't think it makes much difference whether it's Monza or anywhere else. But Ferrari are a class act, and they're the class team at the moment. And getting in there and beating them, it means the team's doing a pretty good job.
Well done, Patrick. Thanks very much indeed.
Good. Thanks, Jim.
It's time now to go to the press conference. We'll hear from the top three, from Ralf Schumacher, from Rubens Barrichello, and from Juan Pablo Montoya.
Juan Pablo, interesting.
Good victory here for Juan Pablo Montoya. When you rejoin us, Mark Blundell and Tony Jardine are going to have their say about the Italian Grand Prix. See you shortly. Welcome back to Monza. Juan Pablo Montoya has won the Italian Grand Prix. I asked you at the end of qualifying, you remember, Mark, who's going to win the race? And you said the full Monty. Juan Pablo, well done.
Well, he delivered, but actually I think it's one apiece for me and Tony. Tony came up with Hakkinen, and I said Montoya's going to be the boy this year, so we're one apiece. Yeah,
score draw at the moment. We were all debating the start before the race, what would happen. Was it a genuine start, do you think, from your point of view?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there was any situation which really didn't take away from being a genuine start, but the outcome of it was a little bit interesting for the first corner. Button made a tremendous start with the launch control, very effective for the Benetton, but big slip up as he went into the corner. You know, his comments there on picking up a bit of cement dust, I don't think are really going to rub when he gets back to the Benetton camp. He went in too deep, collected Trulli, and put himself up the race, and Trulli as well. So a little bit of a disappointment there, and a shame. But apart from that, the start was clean, and a great race.
Jenson Button going down the inside there, Tony, and taking out next year's teammate, Jarno Trulli.
Yeah, I think this is unfortunate for Jens, because he needed points today, needed to convert them. You know, he is under threat from Flavio Briatore, and make this great start. You say the launch control's been really improved by Tad Chapsky. He's an electronics expert who was with Ferrari Benetton before that. He's gone back to Benetton. But as you said, with the teammates, in terms of Trulli, and this is Michael Schumacher. This is the guy who wasn't going to do any overtaking. He was trying to get the drivers to be really safe. through the first two chicanes. Look at him determinedly getting past his brother there. Truly being pushed away. The guy's going to be teammates to Jensen next year. Jensen, as Mark said, has got a lot of explaining to do. It'll put him back in the danger zone.
I mean, he's got to be under the cosh now that there must be a genuine chance that they'll boot him out, despite the contract.
Yeah, and then after this, and when he had the blow-up, not long afterwards, but, you know, he had to go into the pits for a new nose cone, and back out he comes. Yes, he will be in the danger zone here, and he could be moved on to another team. How the contract is, I don't know, but he needed a good result today. He didn't get it.
Quite a few early casualties in this race. David Coulthard, his Mercedes engine didn't last too long, did it?
No, which is a worry. It's a worry that the engine's letting go at this stage of the season. You know, big plume of smoke there, and the rear wheel's locked up, as Martin pointed out in the commentary. Luckily, no damage. You know, when the rear wheels lock up like that, it can send you in the barrier with quite a bang. But engine shouldn't be going at that stage of the year. It should be reliability by then.
And that second place in the World Championship, he's under threat there now from Rubens, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so. And Rubens has got the bit between his teeth, and the Ferrari's very strong, and Ferrari want to get him that second place. So it's all out for that second place, and DC is losing it quickly.
Sure, they were flying early on, weren't they, Tony, those Ferraris, and Barrichello took Montoya. Now we know why, because he was two-stopping, I guess.
Yeah, but also it's the fact that with these Michelin front tyres particularly, they did it at Spa, they've done it here during the warm-up. They run the tyres in as much as they can to stop them graining during the race and to try and prevent the understeer. And you're trying to control the temperature on the tread and keep the durability at the same time. And that's what Michelin have been trying to do. So I'm sure Tim Preston, his engineer, would have been talking to him, look, you know, maybe sussed that Ferrari are going very, very fast. Maybe they're on two, just let him through, just, you know, look after your tyres, because we're one stopping.
And we spoke about the brakes before the off, and Ferrari had to look after their brakes, and perhaps that forced them into that strategy.
I think that was the key to it. Yeah, it really is. And the performance is there because they're always going to run light fuel loads. You know, the Williams are running a heavy fuel load that puts a lot more wear and tear on the tyres, but they did very well. But Ferrari, yes, they have got a brake issue, and Indianapolis may show up to be the problem as well.
It came as a heck of a surprise to us, didn't it, when Michael Schumacher, first of all, pulled in for that early pit stop, and he had a pretty good one, but not so Rubens Barrichello when he followed him.
Well, most confusing there. Obviously, a little bit of confusion between the mechanics and the team. Picked up the wrong fuel nozzle by the looks of it, and very, very costly. And I think it is true to say that that probably did cost Rubens Barrichello the opportunity to win this race.
Do you agree with that, Tony?
Well, yeah, but the first thing that we spotted this morning during the warm-up, and we only spotted it through the little spy camera on the digital, was the Ferrari set of brakes actually on fire. Little flames coming out through the front. And that means they were really stressed, and that probably caused the two-stop that they said. But when you saw those Ferrari mechanics with the fuel hose dallying around, I thought, well, why don't they move really, really quick? And they didn't seem to move fast at all. But they have complained about the Intertechnic refueling equipment this year. You remember in Germany with Juan Pablo, they couldn't get the nozzle on. They lost 30 seconds. Because the engine was standing for 30 seconds, it then blew up 2 laps later. So there have been complaints by the team. Who knows what was wrong?
Right, OK. Well, Mika Häkkinen, his final Monza for a little while, perhaps for all time, and ground to all. He never does that well round here, does he, Mika, anyway?
Yeah, you know, it's just the end of his year is quite sad in a way. He's just not getting any results, and it's really a sad day to see him not finish on a high note. I mean, he didn't even have a good start to his race. He went backwards slightly, I think, mainly because of the first corner start. But, you know, gearbox issues there for him. Bad day for McLaren all over.
Well, we all wondered then if Rubens Barrichello could build a big enough cushion to give him a chance to stop again and win the race, and it was always pretty unlikely, Tony, wasn't it?
It was, but you know, he did have a fabulous car underneath him. It was set up beautifully, and the sort of nonchalant Michael Schumacher this weekend showed that even though his mind wasn't fully on the job, he could be competitive, and yet Rubens was superb. He was faultless all weekend. And then, even after he'd come in for the splash and dash, he went out there and he caught up Ralf Schumacher, you know, and he got past him with a fabulous manoeuvre. Here we are, look at this. Got back out, but unfortunately at that stage he dropped to 3rd place, but he closed in and got within about 5 seconds of Montoya towards the end.
Yeah, and in the meantime he overtook Ralf Schumacher, sort of forced his way by Ralf Schumacher, really, didn't he?
Well, I think he just set him up very nicely coming at the parabolic. He got the slipstream, took him all the way down deep into that first chicane there, and Ralf tried to drag him in. I'm going to outbrake you, but it didn't come off. A little bit of a cheat there across the green surface there, which isn't racetrack. And luckily, or fortunately for Williams as well, he gave up the position, rightly so as well. Otherwise it would have been a penalty, and today wouldn't have been that good. But nice bit of driving by Rubens, very good indeed. You see he get the slipstream, extra few revs. It's only a matter of 1 or 2 miles an hour that makes that difference, but it all counts when you get into that first corner.
And Rubens Barrichello will feel that he should have won this motor race, but Juan Pablo Montoya, the man who has come first at Monza. Jacques Villeneuve made his point, 6th place in the British American racing team. Here he is with Lou.
Jacques, congratulations on the result. Very valuable point at this stage in the season.
Yeah, very, very valuable, mainly because we were very slow in qualifying, but somehow the car was a lot quicker in the race. It's a shame that we didn't put enough fuel at the pit stop, and I couldn't attack at the end.
Tell me about the start, because you were one of the few drivers that held the view that you should be racing here. Why was that?
Why? Because we are race car drivers, because we signed contracts before the season and everybody was happy to be a race car driver and to earn millions of dollars. Because we knew a year ago that there was a race in Monza and nobody complained, and everybody well, the discussion started Sunday morning somehow. And what you have to think about is there's people in the grandstand that saved their money for 6 months to come to see a race.
You obviously hold a very strong opinion on this.
Yeah, I'm a racer at heart. And all my life I grew up dreaming about being a race car driver, and that's what I am. The day I don't feel like it anymore, I'm not going to stay in just to make money. I will just quit.
The opposing view was that this was a safety issue. What was your answer to that?
Then every race start should be done, shouldn't happen, basically. Monaco is much more dangerous, and there's other tracks that are much more dangerous than this. So there was no reason to do it here.
Animated and absolutely convinced. Any arguments from you on that?
No, I'm in agreement with Villeneuve. And the one guy who was making all the fuss was Michael Schumacher, and it's somewhat easy to do when you've just cleaned up the World Championship. You know, we don't have to forget that point.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Mark. It should then be next stop, Indianapolis, for the American Grand Prix in a fortnight. Indy is ready to go. Contrasting views, though, up and down the pit lane. James Allen reporting.
The talk in the paddock throughout the weekend has been whether the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis can or should go ahead. Many people, including the two Schumacher brothers, have made it clear they feel it's an unnecessary risk to travel to the United States, and many in the paddock share that view.
I'm scared, so it's basically obviously decision. You know, I'm professional, so obviously it's not my decision. Are we gonna go there or not? I feel that way still. The teams should be very, very clever and to really put their heads to 100% together to understand is it right or wrong.
But the message from the team owners and the sport is clear. Formula One's roadshow will go to Indianapolis.
I don't think we should give in as a sport, as individuals, to any form of terrorism. And I think if we just give up and say, right, we're not going, we're giving in to terrorism.
Logistically, there seem to be a few problems. Flying the fuel out is one concern, and new American restrictions on air freight will add to the time it takes to get cars and equipment out to the States.
I think it's going to be very, very tough. Apparently, we have to X-ray every piece of equipment, and every piece of equipment's right down to cars. And my understanding, there's only 2 X-ray machines in Europe big enough to take these parts, and one is in Amsterdam, the other one's in Luxembourg. We'll have to get the equipment off maybe a day earlier, but we're willing to do it. I think it's important to have that race.
The big problems, I think, will be, of course, when the stuff gets to the airport and people have to handle it from that point on.
Do you foresee any problems?
I couldn't tell you. I really don't know. I mean, we'll get the stuff to the airport and we'll get it there as requested, and we'll see what happens then.
A meeting of team owners on Friday confirmed the decision to travel and agreed that one car in every team will run unbranded at Indianapolis as a mark of respect. So far, America's declaration of war on Saturday doesn't seem to have affected things. Fred Nation, vice president of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, told ITV he doesn't expect the American government to stop the race. But it depends on how the military situation develops in the coming week. Throughout this weekend, racing has been secondary in most people's thoughts. However, they're all hardened professionals and they'll do whatever the teams and Bernie Ecclestone and Formula One say they should do. The message then going forward with America in 2 weeks' time is Formula One is ready to come. It's now up to the Americans to decide whether the race will go ahead.
Thank you very much indeed, James. It's a very, very difficult situation and everyone has their own views. Tony, what do you feel about going to the States?
Well, I think the Americans clearly want Formula One to come over there. They want the race to go ahead, and I think if they can get round the logistical problems, I think it should go ahead, and we should all go there and get on with the show.
And Mark, you've raced over there many times. I chatted to Indianapolis Speedway last night. They are very keen. They say they're ready. But the situation is changing all the time. Your views, though?
I've lived there for the last 5 years, and I can feel from there, but I think everything will be okay. In terms of sporting events, they've cancelled everything this weekend in the US, but next weekend it will be back to normal, and that's how it should be.
Okay. Do you think it's important to make a statement, Tony, for everyone to go over there?
Yeah, I think it is, because, you know, saying that Formula One, if it has to stop, then they win. But you go over there with a mark of respect, as I said, with every other car running unbranded. I mean, one goes there with your head bowed, but you get on with it.
Okay, I think it's going to be logistics of getting everybody there and back that could be the crucial point. Of course, the situation changing all the time. Highlights of the Italian Grand Prix coming your way just before midnight tonight, and that programme repeated. ITV2, as always, just before 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. So then BMW Williams stay the course. At the end of a very difficult weekend, we acclaim Juan Pablo Montoya, F1 winner. Bye-bye.
Allora Mario, molti problemi per questa McLaren.
It looked like a lot of problems, yes. Unexpected, but we don't know what the problems are yet. And yeah, it's disappointing to go away from Monza with nothing.
Cambio per Mika Häkkinen e motore per quanto riguarda invece David Coulthard, ma anche dei grossi problemi di blistering sulle Bridgestone, che non hanno lavorato come sulle altre macchine.
We didn't have any problems with the tires, but we didn't run long enough, I guess. So, but we were not on the pace. So I think it's a race we have to put behind us and make sure we're better next time.
Thank you very much. Beh, nega il discorso.
Yeah, no, truly, it was a very short race for you. What happened there?
I don't know.
Were you hit from behind?
Someone hit me on the back.
Very bad luck, thanks.
Park it, Eddie. Park it. Gary, can you check his tyre pressure and stuff? Have the full works, please.
Jensen, but in a very short race for you there. What exactly happened to you in the laps prior to your engine blowing?
The start was I braked at the same time as everyone else, but it just locked up and went straight on. I think it was down to the oil. There's some oil on the circuit there from the Porsches, I think. And I went through some dust and then I braked and I just locked up and went straight on. So sorry to the people that it caused a problem to, but I couldn't do anything about it.
Jensen, thank you very much.
And later
David Coulthard, very bad luck, a bit of an engine blow, but you didn't seem on the pace before. Was that tactics, you think?
Well, we were certainly running very heavy, but I was dropping ground more than I expected. I think that based on the warm-up, we found the car was getting better as the fuel burned off, so I wasn't too worried really that I was under threat from behind. But clearly I was never going to be in a position to race with the Ferraris or the Williams.
Well, it seems like Ferrari are two stopping. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it would, especially with Rubens, because he's got a bit of a lead there. But for Michael, maybe it's the only way to try and jump in front of Montoya.
David, thank you very much.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. I will ask him when he's coming down the pit lane if he needs a wing adjustment by hand signals because we have no radio. Television into the box. Okay, 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Okay, guys, in pit lane. Okay. Steady into the box. If you need a wing adjustment, indicate up or down, 1 or 2.
Yourself, very bad luck, but a really excellent race. So what took you out in the end?
I mean, so far was going quite right. Only we had a small problem with the left front brakes, so we had to take it easy. And then suddenly the engine stopped running. We had this before, and I think it's a sensor somewhere stopped working and stopped the engine.
And again, another great first lap. How many people did you get this time?
I don't know what position I was after the first lap. But then there was also a small problem with some, I don't know who it was, but I overtook probably about 8-9 people or something. But no, it had nothing to do with, I mean, we're always good on the first lap, and but it's bad luck we didn't finish.
Bad luck, thanks, man.
Well done, Juan. Well done. Excellent work. Fantastic. There at last. Oh, it's brilliant, guys. Great job. Great job, all of you. Happy birthday, Daddy. Remember, Juan, pick up a lot of rubber on the in-lap. Pick up rubber on the in-lap and complete the lap as fast as possible.
Otherwise, with a crowd, but obviously enjoy yourself.
Patrick, quick work. Well done, Max. Good job. Good job. Patrick Head, congratulations. Patrick Head, 2 drivers, 2 winners this year. Ralph. Patrick Head, congratulations. Patrick Head, congratulations. Patrick, you must be delighted. 2 drivers, 2 winners this year. What do you think of Juan Pablo's race today?
Brilliant job. He did everything that could be required, so really good.
Thank you, Patrick. Well done. 3 seconds, Tim. Okay. Tim Preston, Juan Pablo Montoya's engineer, a winning team at last.
Yeah, it's not only me. Obviously, there's quite a few people involved, but it's very good for Juan finally to get there after three very good performances in qualifying in recent races. Bit of bad luck, but finally on the top step, which is good.
But he's shown these flashes all season. We saw as early as Brazil he could fight and take on Michael Schumacher and other races as well, but now it's completely gelled.
Yes, I think given the opportunity, he wants to race anybody, and obviously Michael's seen as the champion, and if he can get in front of him, that's good for him.
Well, congratulations. Very well done, Tim.
Pablo, cumpleaños.
Uy, gracias.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Uy.
Well done, congratulations.
Johnson.
Johnson, at last. Salud, se dice en español.
Happy birthday to me, diga.
Happy birthday to you and the best present. The best present for you.
Nikki.
And hello once again. So the BMW Williams, fast and reliable and using the traditional Monza method, one stopping, put two in the top three. Montoya and Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello, the red meat in the middle, then off-colour Michael Schumacher, drive of his life from Spain's De La Rosa, a fired-up Villeneuve, sixth. But it's a first Formula One win for Montoya.
We've been waiting for this day for so long this year, and I got quite a few opportunities to do it. And if I when I came, it's a year ago I had won my last race, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting when I hear the, my national anthem and everything is just so special.
At the end of the day, I think we could quite rightly say that we would have won if it wasn't for the pit stop. But we work as a team. We are a family. Sometimes it works. Sometimes we do make mistakes. Sometimes they make. It was just a pity that whenever I had a chance to win, it happened. It was a great race, as you could see. I was fighting my whole way through. I passed two Williams, but unfortunately I had to pass them 3 times. So it was I finished second.
I had a different strategy to my teammate. It was heavier on the road, which would have paid off if not the problem with the tire would occur as much. I mean, I had big blisters on the car, and that was the main problem. After my pits, the car was quite good, but then the blister appeared again, and that was it basically.
I think it's just a great result, and very good for me also because I haven't been very lucky on the past few races. So strong finish, the car was very good through the race, and our strategy perfect.
Tell me about the start, because you were one of the few drivers that held the view that you should be racing here. Why was that?
Why? Because we are race car drivers, because we signed contracts before the season and everybody was happy to be a race car driver and to earn millions of dollars. Because we knew a year ago that there was a race in Monza and nobody complained, and everybody well, the discussion started Sunday morning somehow. And what you have to think about is there's people in the grandstand that saved their money for 6 months to come to see a race.
And so the standings with a couple to go. Michael Schumacher 50 clear now, the non-scoring Coulthard. Barrichello within 3 points of the Scot. Ralf Schumacher scored 4 today. Montoya's 10-pointer, lifting him above Mika Häkkinen. Meantime, in the constructors, 7 more points for Ferrari. Williams scoring an impressive 14, but McLaren stay second. British-American Racing the only scorers with that point from Villeneuve, that in that 3-way scrap for 4th place. Tony Jardine, we all wondered what was going to happen at the start, and when they got underway, Jenson Button made a bit of a fool of himself, really.
Unfortunately, he did. I talked about the funneling from the wide pit apron in front of it all the way down. Under pressure, Jenson Button made that incredible diagonal manoeuvre to go around the outside, which could, in fact, squeeze the field. And he came down the inside, long on braking. There was a little puff of smoke there, Juan Pablo Montoya. Just watch now, Jenson Button on the inside, and he clips Jarno Trulli, the man who's meant to be his teammate next year. Alesi gets through, squeezed by the 2 arrows. Look at the manoeuvre. Great traction off the line. The launch control from Tad Chapsky, the electronics expert, who's gone from Ferrari back to Benetton. Brilliant. But this is the man under pressure. He needs to get the points. Very good, but too late on the brakes. Takes out Trulli. Trulli is the blue-eyed boy of Flavio Briatore. Briatore is the man who's put him under pressure. Here's the man who was trying to instigate the no overtaking zones in the first 2 chicanes. Michael Schumacher, who's been off colour this weekend, understandably, but has a go straight away at Schumacher, his sibling, gets through into 3rd. No problem with his overtaking there, was there?
We all wondered what Ferrari were going to be doing with their pit stops. In the end, they stopped twice, and poor Rubens Barrichello had a long one that cost him a chance of victory.
This was the moment, actually, when he did lose it, because, look, they're waving around. They had the fuel hose of Michael Schumacher there, and Barrichello's coming a lap up. Oh, we better get Rubens' fuel hose out. I don't know why they were so dozy or whether there was a fault with the Enter-Technique equipment, but look at the timing clock going on here. Up to around 16 seconds. Given that he only lost the race by 5 seconds at the end, that was a crucial pit stop. Splash and dash later on for Michael. This was to conserve brakes. I had seen them this morning on fire after the warm-up. That had clearly meant a change of strategy from 1 to 2 stops for Ferrari. Splash and dash. After that, Barrichello came in for the same thing. He dropped to 3rd, got back to 2nd.
A bitter-sweet victory for the Williams team following the news of Alex Zanardi having both legs amputated after that crash in Germany.
awful shadow over the race, never mind everything else that had gone on in America. That plus this, a former Williams driver, I'm sure it must have been in Juan Pablo's mind, because fellow Champ Car drivers from Indy racing as well. But yet, 3 pole positions and all the problems that he's had over the years, over this year, with 3 engine failures, hydraulics, electrics. What a fabulous driver, and the way he's controlled his aggression and he's channeled his aggression now. What a great racing driver, what a great place, what a great theatre to get your first Grand Prix win at Monza.
You get the feeling that's going to be the first of many, don't you? De La Rosa, what a great race for the young Spaniard in that Jaguar.
For the 6th time this year, and he only came in from Spain, he's out-qualified Eddie Irvine, his much more experienced teammate, and he's had 3 6th places, and now he's got a 5th place. And Niki Lauda said, I don't think he's that quick at first, but he must change his mind about the Spaniard now.
And Villeneuve made it very clear he wanted a genuine start. He was pretty angry with the rest of the crew, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was extremely angry, and I think a lot of people feel the same way as Villeneuve. You've got to get on with it, and if you don't want to go and race, you should say so beforehand. Otherwise, we're professionals, we're race drivers, go and get on with it. I totally agree with Jacques Villeneuve.
Okay, Tony Jardine, thank you very much indeed. Well, next we should be going to the American Grand Prix. Indianapolis say they are ready. Formula One wants to go. There are a few dissenting voices. Juan Pablo Montoya is not among them. Good night.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Foster's is www.itv-f1.com.